I don't know how to get out.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
In the blue corner and in the red corner. Let's get this rumble started. And the new
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Please delete as applicable because the internet is worldwide and time zones are indeed a thing. Can I get a wee audio check in the chat, please? As you know, whenever I've guests on it, don't go through and say hello to everybody, but I will put your comments up to acknowledge your participation in the show. And with that, I will introduce my two guests for this week. Co-host every month, Mr. Sensum Communem. What about you, chum?
Yes, mate. Been a while. Been busy. Been a busy bee. But yeah, it's great. It's great to have Ritch on. Love Ritch's show. I mean, it's time differences are a thing, but when I do catch your show, it's always a pleasure. And I also like it when you present with Jane. I think she's wonderful. So excellent stuff. Yeah.
Very good. Great. Glad to have you aboard. First time on the show. Everybody, please give him a warm welcome. Put a R for Ritch or RPW in the chat, please. And welcome Ritch from RPW Media, brother of another friend of the show, Jimmy from Philly. What about you, chum?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How's yourself?
I'm pretty good.
How's the weather going over there? Where
What's
you're
that?
at? How is the weather going where you're at?
Right now it's 38 degrees and it's wet out.
Yep. And are you?
I'm in Pennsylvania. I'm in Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Yep, you're in Pennsylvania. So that gets quite harsh winter, summer type change, yeah?
Yeah. Jimmy says, who the hell is RPW Media? Yeah.
Yeah. I say I'm delighted to have you on. I've known about your channel for quite a while, but just viewing habits and whatnot. And I started watching, following on from the duck race on a Friday night, and I've enjoyed watching it. And I'm really glad to have you on.
Hey, I love you guys, man. You guys know that. I love you. I love all you Brits. I love all the UKers here. And Linda. She's from that magical make-believe land called Australia.
Oh,
that's what our Canadian guys say all the
time. There's a lot of people who don't believe that Australia exists.
Yeah, but we love Linda. We love all you guys, like I said, and thank you for the kind words, both of you. Appreciate that.
And with that, Sensum, would you like to do some housekeeping, or do we have any?
I only have one bit, but it is an important bit. Yeah.
Right. Get that right.
Tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, our good friend Ragnar Einspear on his channel, Rags and Jack, have the one and only John Palmer on as their guest. I've been told that the following week they've got a chicken dish with cheese and barbecue sauce, and it's going to be John Parmo who's on. No, so tomorrow night, That'll mean nothing to Rich. There's a cheesy chicken dish that has barbecue sauce on. We call it a parmo. You might call it something else. Hunter's chicken, you might call it where you are. But yeah, so that's where the joke is. But yeah, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, Rags and Jack, the one and only John Palmer on as their guest. And that's my only bit of housekeeping. Now, the other thing that I would like to plug, now I know you've got your things 42, but I would like to plug Waffle Dave's house, which is a complete alternative to Dave's Waffle House. And he actually has an immaculate swan race on a Friday night. So you might want to get yourself over to Waffle Dave's house. It's the only show in town.
I will counter that with saying that the Friday night duck race at Dave Waffle House is indeed the best aquatic avian race on the whole of the internet. Get yourself involved with that. You can win ducks during the show. You can buy ducks. You can indeed gift ducks. And by the way, for the record, because Dave has been being accused of being a grifter, I have stated quite plainly and openly, if he's grifting, I'm his chief fucking enabler. And I do not accept super chats, but if anyone wishes to buy me a duck, as Anglo-Saxon did for myself and Emma a couple of weeks ago, I will gratefully receive them, and they will quack down and win that fucking duck race and get me a Bluetooth speaker. So, and Rich is going, what the fuck have I come into?
That's fine. No, you guys got to do business, man.
Yeah.
I get it. Trust me.
There's that. The other show that, the other two shows that I have been shouting out, is Courage is Secure. A girl from Australia keeps on top of what's going on a worldwide basis. And the other show, well, he's here this evening. The other place I've been hanging out is over at RPW Media on a Friday night looking with this man. And we're probably going to use one of his news links. For those of you that aren't aware, Ritch does a lot more than just YouTube shows. There's a full website there. There's a lot of documented information. It's all sourced up. It's good info. So get yourself on that as well if you want the in-depth news.
Appreciate it.
There you go. And with that, sorry, I'm just checking down through the comments. I got way behind. I want to check, make sure there's nothing. Digital Ducks are us from Budgie Burger. Right. We're all good. Right. With that, will I open up with our first bit of weirdness of the month? This is a little bit of do we want the Darwin Award or do we want the crude perverted one? I think the history.
What was the second option, mate? What was the second option?
The second option. We've got one that's a bit of a Darwin Award. Someone did something quite silly, and I can link that to the Violence Against Women and Girls Act. And the other one is another lump of toxic femininity, where we've got a woman that's found herself in court for doing acts that are, let's say, well, way past frowned upon. I think that one wins, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, here we go. I will get this shared up. Present. Share screen. Okay, this is from America. Investigators released details into Jones & Co. unnatural intercourse case. So, Jones County, Mississippi. New details about events leading up to a 19-year-old Denise Fraser's arrest have been released. According to the affidavit, Jones County Sheriff Deputy Regina Newton received information on Tuesday that a woman was accused of having sexual intercourse with a dog. Woof, woof. During the initial investigation, Newton was able to identify Fraser as a suspect woman. The report said Newton located Fraser at a residence in Norton Road in Laurel and spoke to her after mandarizing her. That's where they give them your rights. You have a right to remain silent. And say can and will be used in evidence against you in case of law. And by the way, if you're still talking after you've heard that, you're doing something wrong. You will not talk yourself out of it. Say fuck all, get a lawyer. Although maybe don't fuck a dog first. The affidavit said Fraser admitted she was the one in the video, but stated she was forced to do it, but also that it occurred a year ago in Hessenberg. The document said Newton received several more videos of Fraser having intercourse with a German Shepherd. A video also showed a German Shepherd, which Newton saw at the residence. The investigator, J.D. Carter, who is also affluent with the case, said that the videos appeared to have been taken in a Jeep at the front of Freedom Baptist Church. And please, if you're going to fuck a dog, don't do it at the front of a church. Parking lot in Mayo County. Videos were from Snapchat social media application.
She put it online?
She put it on Snapchat.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt, but go ahead.
No. Honestly, feel free to interrupt and butt in and give your 2 pence worth. Yes, the videos were from Snapchat, a social media application. This is a bit Darwin-y as well because, I mean, holy fuck, don't squeal on yourself as well.
It's like you're bragging about it. My God.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. She was getting clicks. Screenshots of iCloud shared photos of the videos showed a range of dates between February 23rd and 20th of 2023. The findings and circumstances led Carter to suspect Fraser willfully, unlawfully, and famously had sexual intercourse with one or more domesticated animals.
One or more?
Yep. Now,
oh wow.
Is it a different charge if the animals are not domesticated?
Did they do it doggy style, or was there some other type of thing going on there?
Who the hell knows? There could even have been peanut. There could even have been peanut butter and jelly involved in this. One being a male German Shepherd, and recorded the intercourse via electronic device on or about February 23rd to 20th, 2023, according to the affidavit. The affidavit was signed on Wednesday, and Fraser was arrested later that day and charged with unnatural intercourse, aggravated cruelty with an animal. Officials said 3 separate dogs were seen on video, and all animals are now in a safe place and getting medical help.
Wow.
The Sheriff's Department said its initial investigation phase has found that the evidence of Fraser has found no evidence that Fraser was threatened or coerced to participate in the acts in the video. So there you go. What do we think, gentlemen?
Separate dogs. Holy mackerel. She was their bitch. I mean, good Lord. 3 separate dogs? No cats in there? There's about 10 jokes I could tell right now with that, but if I was shit-faced drunk, I could at least get up 6 jokes, but no.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, think about it. You go to college, you go to graduate school, you build a life, but when you fuck one dog, I mean, it's over. It's over, right?
You're not living that one down.
Oh, my God.
Oh, fuck. It's like, do you remember it was either last year, possibly the year before, you had the female police officer who had been having sex with everybody in her squad?
Oh, okay.
And the pictures came out of her, and there was all this different squad members, and then there was the dog at the end, and somebody put that on as a joke. That bitch didn't even go as far as doing the dog.
Oh, man. Besides the German Shepherd, did they say what the other 2 were?
No.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Happy.
Yeah, apart from down the groomers getting their nails clipped.
Wow.
Do you know,
Imagine,
the
man.
thing is, I mean, was there a picture of the lady who was involved?
Yeah, she was in
Because
cuffs in the
There's
car.
Because
there's
I heard one of the dogs said that she was a bit rough.
oh, I can get I can get her. I can get quite a few pictures of her.
Scooby would, but Shaggy wouldn't.
Yeah. Oh man. How do you live that one down? And in front of a church.
Yeah, in the lay-by in front of the church. Nah, let's see.
Oh my God.
Where is she? Oh, yes.
Kennels, be aware. Yeah.
I can share this. Present, share screen, window. Is this coming up? Oh no, that's not. Stop screen. I don't know what the fuck came up there. Present, share screen, window.
Any pics of the dogs asking for a friend.
Oh, right. Hold on. Cancel. I'm going to have to do this a different way.
I mean, you got to wonder, how does she put the tiny little condoms on the dogs?
Right. Got it. I think that dog was raw dogging. Yes, there she is there. But she's not bad looking.
I mean, a few beers, yeah, she would have no problem. Why go with a dog?
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, I mean, we colloquially we would call ugly women a dog. We'll go, yeah, that's a dog, and
Okay.
she's not a dog, but
No,
she
she's
was fucking a dog.
Wow.
Or being fucked by a dog.
Wow. If it's man's
Yeah.
best friend, what is this?
Well, that's the other thing. Everybody says a dog's man's best friend, but cats never do tell the police where your drugs are. So there's that. Right.
And it's all downhill from there, guys, right?
It's all yes. Yeah,
The
we've
bar
started
is
with
very low.
We've started with a low trajectory.
Yeah.
We could go with. Do you want to go with one of yours, Rick, or Sensum? Do you want to go next?
You could do mine.
Right. Yes, we'll do your one.
I could read it.
Yep.
You got the picture? You don't have to. I could do it without. I could just read it. I wrote my little script here. In fact, I did a video today. It's coming out tomorrow on this, but you guys will get it ahead of time. How's that?
Yep. It should be. Hold on. No, it's a question of whether or not I can share it, but we'll try.
Yeah, let it sink in. My story is about in Ohio, which is a red state. There were Democrats that proposed a bill that's pretty hilarious. There you go. All right, I'll start, I guess. You guys ready?
Yep.
All right, there's a new Democrat proposed bill out in Ohio that is hilarious on so many levels. Essentially, it's a troll to conservatives who think
Sorry,
that
Rick,
women...
I was going to stop you now. You're not going to believe this, but this is actually one of the ones that I picked.
Oh, get out.
Well,
no shit.
No.
All right, well,
No.
sorry, I already started.
No.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, it was a crazy one. In fact, there's a guy in the chat that said it to me, Roger.
Right. Can I come in on top of both of you? Do you know when I first heard about this? 2014.
Really?
2014. This was all. I would have brought up the one from them, but it was only a Voice for Men Facebook page, which is now defunct because Facebook do not allow a Voice for Men on it. But this story and this push for this bill has been going on since at least 2014.
Yeah, but they just reintroduced it.
Yeah, they've reintroduced it, but the same idea.
Hilarious. Oh, I give reasons why.
Oh, fuck, yeah.
All right, so essentially it's a troll to conservatives who think women shouldn't have the right to kill a baby in a womb. I mean, regardless of your beliefs, it's still hilarious. So the bill introduces a potential $10,000 fine for ejaculating without the intent to conceive. Let that sink in. Okay, so the bill establishes strict penalties for anyone who discharges genetic material without the intent to fertilize what they say is an embryo. Now, think about the ways that they would enforce such a law. Imagine like the new 1984 Ingsoc camera in your bedroom, right? Think about what this bill would do to the adult industry. Think about how pissed off those Afghani goat herders would be. Now, forget about the part where these Democrats, that they are unscientific simpletons who don't know the difference between gametes and an embryo, which is actually it's a conceived human being made in the image of God, self-replicating DNA, all that, right? So the fines for spreading seed without the intent to create a new tax deduction are as follows. For a first offense, it's $1,000. For a second offense, it's $5,000. And for any subsequent offenses, it's $10,000. So immediately in the United States, a lot of wealthy guys would be making a game of it, trying to go for the trifecta in one evening. That's if they could afford $16,000, right? This reminds me about years ago in my state of Pennsylvania. They used to put these big signs up on the highway, and they would show you how much fines you would get for speeding, right? The fines would increase by every 10 miles per hour that you would go over the speed limit. And I used to think, shit, I can afford that. So I'd speed the hell up, right? Imagine the wild sex romping that would be going on inside Ohio if this game caught on. I mean, even Diddy would be embarrassed with his boring freak-offs, right? So let's talk about who's exempt from the law. That's right, the gays. Now you think, why? Well, because it would be offensive if we created rules outlawing sexual deviance in the arena of procreation and then made the gays follow those rules, right? Okay. Also exempt from this troll are sperm donation, the use of contraception to prevent fertilization, and masturbation, right? The last of which ruins every single joke that the internet had concerning this topic. Okay. So think about it. If Big Brother catches you in 4K, just say, Your Honor, we were absolutely planning to have a kid. Oh, that? Oh, we have no clue where the diaper, the vibrating spatula, and the WWE midget wearing a cape came from. I mean, it must have been divine intervention. Either that or you can say, Your Honor, that was our fertility ritual gone wrong. Or just tell the judge, you were making a sperm donation. I mean, don't the American feminists always refer to fathers as sperm donors? I mean, just throw that back in their face. The accusation, not the sperm. That wouldn't be nice. So essentially, the bill outlaws unprotected sex between a man and a woman who are not interested in getting pregnant, which, if you think about it, the libnuts never thought this through, because you're going to get a lot of Christians on board with this troll of a bill. It's simple. Find a partner, get married, have kids, right? I think the bill will affect progressive men the most. But then again, remember, when those progressive female heifers with purple hair and a bone through her nose said that they're not going to have sex for 4 years because Trump got elected, you guys didn't hear this, but we could hear a giant going through the United States when they did that shit. Personally, I consider it more of a service to the men. I mean, now they don't have to fear going out with their mates into a local pub. Time went on for several hours and then waking up accidentally next to one of them. So thank you. So they're trolling the wrong people. Furthermore, you're only going to get conservatives excited about this if they keep talking about men having responsibility as fatherhood. And one last interesting thing about the Democrat bill in Ohio, they already have abortion up to birth. Like, so what's the point other than to give authoritarian Democrats a way to virtue signal while out of power? When you think about it, on November 5th, the Democratic Party in America lost everything. They lost the U.S. House. They lost the Senate. They lost the popular vote, which for some stupid fucking reason, they think that it actually means something. But a lot of people realize this. They lost governorships and state legislatures as well. I mean, many red states gained or maintained their super majorities in their legislature. They don't even control the Supreme Court anymore. So to satisfy their raging authoritarian itch, I think we're going to see a flood of ridiculous bills like this just to keep the Democrats from going I don't know, full toys in the attic, lost their marbles, licking windows on the short bus. Insane. So there you go. The Democrats are crazy as per usual, but now they're up to TDS level 9, which is the highest known recorded level of the dreaded syndrome. So I'm done. Thank you.
Right.
Speechless.
See anybody here that's not already sub to Ritch? Go in the description. You'll find the link to his channel and click subscribe. Okay, because see if what just happened here isn't a good enough. That's got to be a reason for you to go over there. That was fucking excellent, but man, I enjoyed that.
Thank you.
There's a couple of things I will add, because whenever this started out, there was no carve out for gay people whatsoever. There was no carve outs at all. It was just if you ejaculate without attempting to create a baby, you would get taxed. So what has happened is the gay lobby have got at them and said, "Here, seriously, we need this bit fixed." And then there is the abortion people have got at them and said, "Here, if you fully get this, it's going to affect us. So we need this bit fixed." They've spent 10 years working on this bullshit.
Yeah, I know.
And the only way I can figure out that anybody spends 10 years working on something to come up with this is that they've swallowed that many babies that they can only manage baby talk.
Unbelievable. I call them the politically correct death squad. The people that, like, think about it. They're going to fight. They're going to fight anything that helps them have more abortions because they look at that as power.
Yeah.
Because they can grift off of it, fundraise, whatever you want to call it. So it's crazy, man.
Apart from anything else, they call abortion reproductive health care.
It makes no sense at all.
Yeah. In what form of health care do people die?
Yeah, it makes no sense at all.
Reproductive health care. It trips into we're in a totally post-truth.
Yeah, Billy, they said condoms, that you can use condoms. You can use birth control now.
Yeah, because originally that was not in it. There was no birth control. There was nothing.
Yeah.
It was the other thing is that whenever you get into
no sticky back.
Whenever you get into reproductive rights, women have got reproductive rights at every stage, and men have got reproductive rights until the sperm leaves their body.
There you go.
And once, because consent to sex is not consent to pregnancy or having a child, right? Because currently you can legally abort that child for women. However, men lose that choice at the point of ejaculation.
They do.
And whatever receptacle it's in, she then has all those choices. And there was other issues of this that might have diced with that whole conundrum. And who has the right to what, when, and how, and our whole fucking post-truth world. Here's a cracker one for you. I'm going to guess would St. Patrick's Day be quite large where you are, Ritch? Yeah. Would it surprise you to know Patrick's never been sainted?
He's never been what? Oh, sainted?
He's not a saint.
In the Catholic Church?
In any church. The Catholic Church are the only church that do saints. In order to become a saint, you have the Catholic Church canonizes you
and all that. Yeah.
Yep. Well, it's not even based on miracles. They look at your life after death. They look at your life and decide this person will be canonized. They go through a process and they list them as a saint. Patrick has never went through that.
You're right.
However, we have a worldwide celebration of him.
Well, here's what they say. St. Patrick was never formally canonized by the Catholic Church because the process didn't exist when he died in 461 AD.
But nobody has been sainted while they're alive.
Yeah. Right.
There are saints that predate him, and there are saints that postdate him. The reason why he was never canonized is Patrick is credited with the removal of the pagan religions from the earth, which
we
is
say driven the snakes out of Ireland.
Yeah, yes, and the snakes are an analogy for the
demons,
pagans.
and the pagans. Yeah,
and the Vatican went, we don't really want to be involved in this celebration of a genocide. That's why he's not a saint.
Is that our communist pope that said that, or was it a prior pope?
No, this is going all the way back.
Wow.
He's also, interestingly, the only saint that is celebrated outside his own country as being, although there are people like George who are saints of multiple countries that all have celebrations, but Patrick's the only saint that gets his celebration worldwide.
Yeah, well, didn't he drive the snakes out of Ireland by doing missionary work? Wasn't that how he did? He didn't kill anybody. He just did missionary work and converted a lot of the pagans to Catholicism.
Nobody thinks it went just quite like that, and nobody thinks that it was one person responsible. Apart from anything else, Patrick never left Ulster. There was something else going on right across there, and it came down to probably the Normans. Whenever the Normans made the Celts, Ulster Scots, and Vikings, who all inhabited Ireland, bashed their heads together and said, "You're all going to stop trying to kill each other and have a society," and they all pretty much went Christian then. I think they were going Christian from before then. It's hard to exactly know, but the issue was the removal in part or in whole of a religious group is the definition of a genocide.
Oh, wow.
Which pulls the Vatican in that, but we celebrate Patrick worldwide as a saint, despite, and that my issue isn't that we celebrate him, it's that everybody just accepts it, and that's how far we are away from our factual society.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just checking through the comments here.
Yeah.
One of the relating to this story, one of the sickest things I saw, which for some unknown reason came up in the same sort of news feed stroke recommends and everything, was a excuse me, it was a TikTok of one of these transformers, and he said, it was a him, and he said, "I want to be the first transformer to have a full womb and ovary transplant, eggs intact, so that I can be the first transformer that gets pregnant." And you think to yourself, well, you're clearly mental, but if you want a kid, and then the icing was, so I can be the first trans person to have an abortion.
Yes.
That's like, the fuck, what are you on about, youth? You know what I mean? It's like,
they're nuts.
This is the, this is where we are. This is where we are.
They're out of their minds.
Absolutely. Honestly,
are you guys deleting this after you're done? Because
no,
on this platform, you're not allowed to talk
Transformers.
Well, probably.
Yeah, the only thing we can't talk about, Rich, is calling Dame Neil Starlin the worst prime minister ever. If we take the piss out of the PM and say there is shit, you'll get locked up for 2 years for that kind of crap here.
I heard about that. Damn.
Yeah.
JD Vance kind of gave Europe a load of crap the other day, right?
Yep. And yet withal in
about free speech.
1691, Great Britain introduced a law which meant you could say that which is repugnant to the government, but somehow you can get locked up for criticizing the prime minister. It's not right. We're fucking.
That's crazy.
Sorry, what were you saying, Rich?
I said that's crazy, man.
Yep.
JD Vance went off in Munich. He made Europe cry.
Yeah,
guy fucking cried. We're all like, we were laughing. We're like, JD made a guy cry, and he was like not trying to make him cry. He was just saying, look, we have shared values, and you guys. And then it was like 3 days after his speech, they arrested a woman for said she was doing a silent prayer. I'm like, how the hell do you know she was praying? Well, it looked like she was praying. Does it say in the law she has to look like she's praying? What, she's not allowed to pray in her head?
Yeah.
Holy crap. The Biden administration did that shit, and they would go after pro-lifers. Pro-lifers protest outside of abortion clinics, but they got to be 500 feet. Okay. And these guys were like 550 feet, and he would send the FBI in to arrest them anyway. He did that shit. For 4 years, he did that.
Yeah, we have police that actually regularly, and it's been a point of contention,
right,
across the boards. Apart from the people who are in power who won't do anything about it, they keep saying they're going to do something about it, but they don't. Is where the police will literally go to somebody's house, demand to speak to them in order to check their thinking.
Yep.
And they will say, "Oh, we noticed that you reposted this tweet." Right, and like I say, the tweet isn't illegal. The tweet isn't breaking any laws whatsoever. Right. It might be ribbing fun out of somebody, taking the piss out of a transformer or something, or the usual suspects.
Right.
And the police will actually spend time and money to go to someone who wasn't the originator of this tweet or the meme or whatever, knock on their door, because they're obviously their Twitter or Facebook or whatever is public, so they know who these people are, because that's the easy meat on the bone, isn't it? So they go to these doors, but knock, hello, yeah, we're from West Midlands Police or wherever. And, we just wanted to talk to you about a post that you made that was talking about this thing. I didn't make that post. Well, no, but you retweeted it, didn't you? Yeah, because I thought it was funny. Well, we're just here to check your thinking. And the worst thing of it is, what you don't realize, we have a thing in this country called a non-crime hate incident. Now, what that actually means is, no crime has been committed. It's basically wrongthink. You've got wrongthink against the state, yeah? Now, a non-crime hate incident, even though you've not caused, you're not committed any crime or anything that could be actionable by a judge or anything, you can't be prosecuted for it. It still goes down on what's called the disclosure barring service check. So it actually goes against your record.
Yeah.
Now,
so if you, I don't know, coach a kid's football team or a soccer team or whatever, that's coming up.
What?
Right. So,
or a job. If you go for a job, a lot of the people in the job expect you to have what's called a DBS check, which is a disclosing barring service check. So, if you have one of these non-crime hate incidents on your record, you might not even know this. You may not even know this.
Why do you think the government did this? What was their point? Because eventually nobody will be able to get a job.
But it's very simple. It's very simple. Right?
They can pick and choose exactly who they target.
Yeah.
The law covers everybody, but they can selectively target.
I didn't know it was that bad.
Yeah.
No, it's really bad, and it'll stop you from getting a job. But the reality of it is, the way that these demons, and I call them all demons because we have 650 MPs in Westminster. I call them traitors. We have 650 traitors in Westminster, and they'll do things like, they'll say the online safety bill. Yeah. So
that sounds flowery.
Yeah.
But what they'll say is the way they'll start it up is they'll say, but we need to have these censorship laws in place because obviously, you want to protect children, don't you? And the masses blindly will say, Well, of course we want to protect children. That's a very noble thing, yeah. But the problem is they don't give a shit about the children. We all know what these bloody highfalutin MPs and government types are like, what their proclivities are. They couldn't give two shakes of a monkey's toss about children.
Right. Neither do
they want the laws. They want the laws so that they can use them against dissenters against the regime.
Right.
That's all they want to do them for. So the DBS, yeah. So the DBS thing, once again, is to be used as a deterrent from people saying wrong speak against the shit that the globalists and the regime wants to push.
It sounds like China's credit system.
It's very like that. And the other thing is, like, see, if you go along, because I used to coach kids soccer, I played at a very, very, very low level, and then whenever my kid was getting up, I took him to football, and then I coached one of his kids. But we all had to do. Everybody coming in, the volunteer, has to do a child safety course, which is fit and proper and is the right thing to do. And part of that, you have to give the club puts your details in the local police, and it costs you something like, I think it was 40 quid. My check cost, and then it comes back and they say whether or not there's anything on your record. And one of the things that's going to come up is if the police have been out to talk to you about your social media. So, you know, you've done nothing other than make a very rational observation that, I don't know, Joe Biden might not be in control of all of his faculties. Next thing, the police is at your door asking, why did you say that?
Right.
And then that comes up whenever you're getting your check done for the coach local football teams or whatnot. So what it does with a lot of people, there's very few people that actually, in the numbers, there's very few people that actually get the hard end of it, but 95% of the people modify their behavior to avoid it, and that's where the problem is.
Yep. Yeah, I call it, it's in America, we had a little theory. It's called the chicken and the fox. And what happens is a fox makes his way into a chicken coop, and he's destroying a chicken in front of all the other chickens that are up on the top and looking down at him. And not one of them went down to help the other chicken. The reason why is because they were terrified that it would happen to them.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. And we have another theory that breaks that, and it's called the second man in theory. Because when you were young and you went to those dances for school, right? You went to the dance, the guys were all wallflowers. Well, then you had nobody dancing and the music was playing. And you had one guy that goes out there and makes a fool of himself. He doesn't know how to dance, and he's just fucking around and he's making the dance. And everybody's laughing at him and all. And then you got a second guy who goes out and joins him, and he starts dancing. I guarantee you, within 5 minutes, everybody will be on the dance floor, because the first guy that goes out there, he's the guy that everybody's watching to see how's everybody else going to react. And when the second guy goes in, they go, you know what? It's okay. Let's go. And it's that way with every social interaction, like what you're talking about. So you got to get, in other words, if one guy stands up and says, you know, F you suck and your laws suck. Well, you got to get a second person to join him, and then a third, and then a fourth. And that's how it actually makes a difference. Except when you have the communists in our White House, they don't give a shit what you say. They don't care.
The other thing that I think we are very badly missing is,
thanks, Sheila,
legal people willing to do pro bono stuff or anything for our people. We are extremely short of. And what I find most amazing about that is, I'm not sure what it's like in America, but in the UK at the minute, being a lawyer or a barrister isn't extremely well paid for the vast majority of them. Yes, there's a couple up the very top that are making mega bucks, but most of them are finding it very hard, particularly the way our system works. And we have a lot of well-trained legal people who are stacking shelves in supermarkets, and they're not even using their knowledge on their own time for free with no recourse to give legal advice to other patriots. That's a bit that sort of, at some stage we're all going to have to be the second man in and go, fucking, let's all try and help each other.
It sucks.
It really sucks. I'm firmly of the opinion that we're at the stage where we're either going to have to hang tight together or get strung up alone. And for hanging tight together.
Yeah. That's crazy. A lot of us over here, we didn't know until recently that it had gotten really bad. We started hearing all the stories and we're like, wait a minute, what? That's where common law started for us, for goodness sake. And what the hell caused it? Was it the socialists? Was it the Muslim? What the hell was it? What caused this to go down that way?
Oh, Anglo-Saxon will tell you exactly who has caused all this. It was the fucking Normans. Whenever you go back, it was the Normans. In Britain, we had the indigenous Britons. There never was a ruling class. You had anybody could have rose or fall through that system. The Normans come in and they put in a permanent ruling class and made the Anglo-Saxons a permanent working class. And what we have still going on now is the descendants of the Normans making picky, pretty laws that they can pick and choose how they
protect themselves, in other words.
Yep. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's how it always starts. Then you have an oligarchy, and that's how it always starts.
The people of Magna Carta and the Peasant Revolt, who later became the Pilgrim Fathers in America, they would have been of Anglo-Saxon working class, the underclass that went out to America. Mm-hmm. It's actually really strange. And I know it's going to be a shock to everybody, but I listen to quite a lot of history. And shocked as are. But the interesting thing, I've recently been doing a dive on Anglo-Saxon history, Anglo-Saxons, early England, and in Britain at that time, there's no mention whatsoever of any Celts. But yet, withal, the Welsh currently believe that they're Celts and have always been Celts, and the Scots believe that they are Celts and have always been Celts. But at the time, whenever the Anglo-Saxons were here, they were Britons, Picts, Scotty, whatever. There were no Celts. It's weird as fuck. It is. I don't know where I was going with that. Right. Have we got another weird story? Or do we want the musical interlude?
I have another one, but I'd have to send you the video. It's very short, but I mean, right. I could just talk about it, and then we could talk about it.
Yep.
If you want, right? You know who Riley Gaines is, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
She's the young lady, the swimmer, and she's against the
trans. Yes.
Yeah. Well, she was on Piers Morgan, and I don't know how you guys feel about Piers Morgan. We're wanker. Like. Yeah, he's a wanker. Thank you. He's so anti-Second Amendment that we don't really take him seriously anymore. But in this one, okay, they had a transgender woman on. So she's a trans activist, and she said, like, they were asking her, so what do you believe? Do you believe this? Do you believe that? Do you believe that? Men's and women's sports and all that? And so finally they asked her the most ridiculous question, and it was, do you believe that we should let Olympic athletes compete in the Paralympics? And this trans activist said yes. And Riley was like, oh my God, are you serious? And Piers ends the segment by saying, well, actually, I think you are totally insane. And that's how it ends. And I'm just laughing my ass off because on my YouTube, right over here across the pond, we're not allowed to talk anti-trans anything. So I couldn't play. I so wanted to do that video, but I'm not allowed to.
What you'll find out is that what you can get away with showing has more to do with your audience than it does what you actually say. Because a lot of the unless it gets picked up by an unless it gets picked up by an algorithm, but it takes a person. It takes a person to report you for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I got a strike once because I did a video and I showed there was an elderly woman. This was I think it was in England, and they were in a restaurant, and it was an elderly woman. She could have been your grandmother, right? Nice lady, and she's trying to pay, and the maitre d' or the host was a trans. And so she accidentally said, "Thank you, sir." And the guy like went toys in the act, batshit crazy, you know, like just went crazy on him. And she finally looks at him and goes, "Well, I'm sorry, but you look like a guy." And he was like, "Ah!" Like everything she said. She goes, "Look, I'm not trying to be, you know, insulting, but you don't even try." And so all of a sudden, the whole thing's being filmed by her husband, who was waiting outside. And it's going straight through the door to where the hostess area is. And so the trans sees him filming with his phone and comes running out and grabs it, and you see it going all over the place. So I literally stopped it as his hand goes up on the phone. And I literally said in the video, now I can't show you anything else because I could get in trouble for that, showing violence, especially with, you know, a trans person involved. And they gave me a friggin' strike anyway.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It's there's a lot of madness in them. One never knows what way the wind's going to blow with this, because apparently there's a new wave of free speech supposed to be rolling through with Elon and
Trump. Pam Bondi. Yeah, now that you mention it, Pam Bondi, who's our attorney general now, I like her a lot. She just came out and said that they are going to look at the social media sites that did censorship during the Biden regime. And the way I look at it, like, you know, these dumb MFers always call Trump a fascist, right? They don't even know what fascism is. What are the two top characteristics in the beginning of fascism? The one is they want to silence the opposition because they want to be the only ones to have a viewpoint, right? The second is they get private corporations to do what the government can't do because of the law. What the hell did Joe Biden do? He forced private social media companies, corporations, to censor conservative speech that he didn't like. He's a goddamn fascist. And so they keep calling Trump the fascist. And so I'm a little on the fence over this, because I understand that there are platforms, not this one, because this one's awesome, right, guys? But there are platforms out there, right, that they really want to. They took the blue pill and they really want to censor conservative speech because they believe that words can hurt you, right? They're morons. But then you have others that go, you know what? Because we did see in the Twitter dump files, if you remembered, when Elon took it over before he changed it to X, and I think it was Barry Jones was her name. I forget her name, but she was the one that released where she said, look, they were fighting back. Some of these social media companies, they were fighting back, saying, no, we don't want to do this. And the Biden administration threatened them. We'll shut you down. You know, I mean, holy crap. And our media is just the worst. Our legacy media, which is why they don't matter anymore. Hey, what's up, Ludwig? Good to see you, man. Yeah, they just don't matter anymore. And now it's the independent journalists, like what Elon did to X. Besides, you know, community notes, which was awesome, because the community notes was why. That's why legacy media people don't really post on X anymore, because they get caught lying. And so what he did was he wanted to make it a platform for people to come in and use X like they did Twitter, but mostly for independent journalists to get their word out. And I think that's a good thing.
Oh, definitely a good thing. We need more voices out. I think the best way to describe fascism is everything within the state, nothing without the state. And if you're making widgets, you can figure out how you're going to make the widgets, but they'll be the exact widgets that we want,
right?
And that's exactly it. And if you weren't in the widget business, you might just have to change. So, you know, and
Bass is right. Did you see what Bass wrote? Mussolini was a commie.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He was he was the most famous Marxist in Europe in his day.
the uh, the the difference between the communists, the fascists, and the Marxists was they had three different interpretations of communism.
Mm-hmm.
Not one of them were arguing for a laissez-faire economy where the market sorts itself out, where restrictions are put in by the government at a very minimal rate, that the government keeps away from everything other than tax and protection. No, none of them wanted that. They all wanted fucking massive government intrusion into your life and being micromanaged.
Well, did you know that back in the day, see, all you have to do, like I used to go around and tell people, like I get into arguments because I love the liberals losing their shit. And I love to make liberals' heads explode, right? And
I would never have guessed.
Yeah. and so I would tell them, I said, look, the Nazis were socialists. They were right-wing extremists. I'm like, no, socialism's in their name, dum-dum. Just look it up. Just Google it, right? Well, they just said that. No, dude, they were socialists. They ruled like socialists. They treated corporations like they were socialists. They shit on them, right? And they would say, well, Mussolini was a right-wing fascist. I'm like, Mussolini was a communist. How do you think he got his name El Duce? It was from a socialist banquet that he was being praised for when he got out of prison. You know, and he went into prison. I think it was, what was it, Ethiopia? He was complaining about the capitalist pigs trying to go into Ethiopia or some bullshit like that. And I tried to tell him, I said, look, do you understand that back in the day, there were a lot of contemporary authors back then during their time that wrote, like they used the word called a communazi. That was an actual term that they all used, the communazi, because they said the communists and the Nazis were bedfellows. It's just that one was a global goal, and the other one was just the ones that they wanted to conquer plus Germany.
National socialism, socialism for my country only. Communism, international socialism. It's you'll find that the brown church and the black church were two fractions within one movement that were arguing for dominance, and they.
That's exactly right. You're exactly right. They were trying to outdo each other because they. I'm sorry to interrupt. They said, "Well, Hitler, he attacked other socialists and communists." Yeah, because he was trying to be the top dog in that totem pole hierarchy.
Well, see, here's the thing. I reckon Poland was probably socialist and communist at the time, but they didn't really give a fuck, and they just decided that we'll take this half and you can have that half, and we'll meet at the middle and not fight each other. It's, you know, anybody that wants to look at that, and the horseshoe theory is wrong. It doesn't go right in a big bend where the right and left almost meet. The Nazis, the communists, the fascists are all on one side, and the people that want a very small government and a very small
on the other side
social safety net are at the other end.
Yeah, they say that if you were to get all the 20th century dictators together in a room, they would tell you, well, socialism is socialism is socialism. They're all collectivists in nature, and it just goes downhill from there.
Yeah, it's
all the different, in other words, all the different flavors of socialism. And you hear these jackasses, well, you know, they didn't, you know, the reason why the Nazis did it wrong was because they didn't do it right. And I'm like, no, they failed because they actually did it right. You think about it.
Yeah, it's really hard to understand what the hell happened in that Second World War, to be honest with you. But there was a period prior to the war where Germany was looking to be improving. But like with so many of the social movements that we have, it got to a point where it should have went and it should have stopped and consolidated, and it just kept on going.
Yeah.
It's really hard to know. And it's hard to, the other thing is, whenever you look at Germany at that period, you have to look at the settlement that was made at the end of the First World War, which was beyond draconian. Didn't give Germany much of a chance of becoming anything else. You know, at the end of the day.
And then you had a subsector of society rise into prominence, and then for no reason whatsoever, None whatsoever. You get this failed Austrian painter rise to prominence for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, you know what we were taught, tell me if I'm wrong, is that in World War I, the German soldiers thought that they were winning. But then the Kaiser said, you know what, we surrender. And so those guys come home and they're like, what the hell? We were winning. Why did we surrender? Why did we end this war like this? And what happened was there were French, there were others involved that came into Germany and treated them like shit and took their houses because they didn't have any money. They took their homes, they took their land, their property, their businesses, and all that kind of shit. And so it took the Nazis a lot of elections to finally get elected.
Yeah,
and
a fire.
Yeah, and it was because they got tired of being treated like crap, right?
Yep.
And so they came up with the socialist idea to get them out of money problems, because socialism is a wonderful system until what Margaret Thatcher said, until you run out of other people's money.
Well,
right?
It's a Ponzi scheme
every time.
It's a Ponzi scheme.
Yes, it is.
It's the same as every other Ponzi scheme. Even your man Murdo found out that after you go past about 10 levels, you need every person in the world, and another 5 levels after that, you need the Martians and wherever else to be involved to put money in the bottom. So it looks good for those people at the top that are creaming off what's coming in, but not sustainable.
Well, did you ever talk about not sustainable? Did you ever see the videos on YouTube of in China they have those empty cities?
Yes.
And they did that because there were a lot of people in China that said, hey, motherfuckers, we're hungry. Why don't we have jobs? And they went, okay, here's what we'll do. And so they devalued their dollar, the yuan or whatever it's called. They devalued that and said, okay, we're going to give you jobs. You're going to build this city. And everybody was happy. They worked and they built the city. And then they couldn't move into them because they couldn't afford them. And businesses couldn't go in there, right? Because they couldn't afford them either. But be damned, they built a city and they had jobs and they could eat. And they finally came back and said, you know what? We're still hungry and nobody's earning anything from these cities. Let's just build another city. All right. And that's why they're in fucking trouble now, because their real estate is really bad right now.
I went to Berlin, I'm going to say probably 2013, 2014. And I was in Eastern Berlin and I got off a tram and just started walking through what was East Berlin. And by fuck, I walked for about 3 miles. There was all these buildings, all these apartment blocks, everything all still there, but it was totally fucking empty and devoid of life.
Oh, wow.
Apart from, there was cars on the road passing through, but this was a big, massive swath of city that had massive fucking, like, 15-story apartment blocks. And you could see all the balconies and the windows, and you've seen a whole load of them had these little cages on the window for fucking putting children in to hang outside the window and to get fresh air. And it was just fucking empty. I do totally get that the Chinese will have built cities for people that didn't exist, but it's not the only place we've got these big, massive places that are just depopulated, which in itself is quite scary.
That's crazy.
And
I don't see anybody. I never heard of a single person went, give me some more of that socialism. Nobody.
Fuck no.
Nobody.
Well, there's the interesting thing that I found out in Berlin. There was not one person got killed trying to climb over that wall from west to east.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was going the one direction.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Unless people wanted to go over there and get souvenirs.
Yeah.
Sell them on eBay, right?
I did one of the tours with the tunnels and said the first type of series tours people were using was ones that just had water.
Oh, wow.
And then they were all blocked up and they went to the ones that carried water and waste. And then they ended up going through the ones that have just waste. Mm-hmm. And every so often along these sewage systems, they would put, like, imagine a big round thing. They would put a bar across 2 feet from the bottom and then like a rainbow of bars so as you couldn't get past, but stuff could get through. And for about 10 feet either side of this bar, it was just fucking caked with shite. And not one person that got to that stage didn't decide to tunnel their way through the shit to get to the other side. No one went, fuck, that's too much for me. They all continued on. Yeah, and Shawshank Redemption, yeah, it is. It's like that. Wow. It's, you know, that's how appealing socialism is.
Oh, yeah. It's a shit show.
Yes.
Always was, always will be. I don't care what flavor you give it.
Yeah.
You know,
and the other thing is as well, which was the Animal Farm analogy that George Orwell put forward, was that, you know, for every snowball, you know, the person with the good intentions, and you know, this is the true sense of community. There's always a Napoleon in the background. In other words, you know, the nasty bastard waiting to just do whatever they want to do.
Oh, do you know who it was made the animated film of Animal Farm?
Yeah, that's a great film.
Do you know who it was paid for it and got it done?
I read the book, but I never saw the movie.
The book's accent is George Orwell, that 1984. I found 1984 extremely hard to read, but the animated film, which is very good, was actually commissioned by the CIA.
Yeah, I'll bet. Well, they have that Mockingbird, Operation Mockingbird, and that's still going on today. And then they also infiltrated Hollywood.
Yep. Oh, totally in order.
Oh, yeah.
There's a show I watch, America's Untold Stories, with a guy called Mark Guber, who was involved in writing National Lampoon's Animal House. I'm guessing you're old enough to remember that. But he knows he's been in Hollywood all his time, and the stories that he comes out with, and so very interesting. But yeah, the CIA has that, the USAID thing, the International Development Fund, that comes with a load of strings of, you will inject our ideology into whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, they're about to release, the Trump admin is about to release the JFK files, the MLK files, a whole bunch of other files. And the CIA is involved in all of it. CIA was involved in Nixon. They didn't give a rat's ass about the Watergate. The whole thing of it, Nixon was he had his CIA director in the Oval Office. It was just the two of them, and they were talking. And he didn't say the deep state because they didn't have a word for it yet. But he told his CIA director, he said, "Look," he said, "I need your help." He said, "What is it?" He says, "Well," he goes, "It's coming now that the bureaucrats are writing more laws than the Congress, and they don't listen to you when you tell them to rein it in." And he said, "And they're creating another branch of government that wasn't elected, and I want to put a stop to it." And 4 months later, he was out of office because the CIA guy the director of the CIA was in on it.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you should say that, Rich, because I saw it wasn't a meme. It was just like an image with different sort of prominent people fading into the background, like Marcos faded off into the background. Former friend of the United States ended up getting regime changed.
Oh yeah,
and then the other one was Gaddafi, friend, and then all of a sudden regime changed. And then the other one was the great friend of the CIA, Osama bin Laden. All of a sudden regime changed. And front and center, still not a ghost yet, but in his resplendent little, action man dummy outfit, Mr. Zelensky. So it's like, and then the caption is, "It's only a matter of time."
Yeah. Well, Zelensky's he's having a really bad week. You had Trump said, "I want to end this war," Zelensky comes out and says, well, you know what? Out of all that money you guys send, we don't know where 100 million of it is, or 100 billion of it is.
Yep.
They're like, what?
With a B.
Like, we didn't get it. Yeah, sure you didn't get it. But
he managed to put his parents up in a nice brand new 8 million gaff in Tel Aviv.
I know, and they're all like, all right, I don't know what you think about Marjorie Taylor Greene. You know who she is? MTG.
Yep.
I love her. And what's it called? So she came out and said, after she was a congresswoman for about 6 months, and she went on Tucker's show, and and she said to him, she said, look, you have no idea. Well, not 6 months. It was 6 months into the whole Ukraine war. And she said, you have no idea. She said, people were coming to me and saying, well, are you going to vote for the Ukraine fund going over? And she goes, hell no. Why would I vote for that? She goes, you know what we can do with that money here for Americans? And they're like, oh my God, you have to vote for the money for Ukraine. And she said that everybody had that mentality, and you had to wear the Ukraine pin, like the flag next to the American flag. And you're like, well, why? Well, we now know why, because of the kickbacks that were coming back. See, the way that they made a shit ton of money, besides FTC, or what was it called?
FTX.
FTX. Thank you. Besides that, because FTX, it was Bankman Fried. Yeah, that was his name. Yeah. And what he did was he made a huge donation to a Ukraine fund inside Ukraine. And then magically, somehow, the Ukrainian government put a shit ton of money into FTX. Okay.
Yep.
And FTX used that money to fund every Democrat campaign for the midterms. Okay. That's what they did. All right. And that's how they stayed afloat and kept the House. Right. And got the Senate. And so there was that. And that's why I thought he was a dead man. I thought they were going to kill his ass, but I think he convinced him I'm never going to say a word. Right. Because that whole thing was a scam. But the way that they make the money is when we send money to Ukraine for the munitions and whatnot, we don't actually send them a check or money. We send them vouchers. And those vouchers are comparable to the money of the size of the voucher, right? So what they would do is then use those vouchers to buy the munitions that they need. And those munitions manufacturers always happen to be in a Democrat's district. And so the Democrat always makes sure to say, hey, by the way, you got all those millions in those in the jobs that you're creating all these weapons because of me, because I'm in the party that voted. Remember that around election time. And they do remember that around election time, and all the dark money that goes into their coffers.
The other thing about giving the aid in that way, vouchers and them physical things, is the Ukrainians do not technically own the weapons or the ammunition. So therefore the United States government can tell them where they are and are not allowed to use those weapons.
They do that too, yes.
Yep.
There's ties to it.
Yeah, it's a big fuck off control thing. And
it's been that way. Like, for example, okay, Vietnam, 55,000 men died. And you know why? Because the Democrats were too much of a bunch of pussies that didn't want to declare war on North Vietnam.
Yep.
Okay. And because what happens is everybody was members. We were members of the UN, right? And the UN, I think it's the Security Council, they have a treaty that says that if you go and do military action inside a country and you don't declare war, then you have to tell us exactly what you're going to do. You have to say how many soldiers you're going to have, what hill you're going to hit, when you're going to do it, and how you think your goal is going to come out. Okay. And then they put it back then on teletype and they send it to every other member nation in the world. Well, guess what? Fucking North Korea was a member of the UN. And they were going, they're going to have, they're going to have 4,000. They're going to have 4,000 men on this hill. We'll have 5,000, And it was because the Democrats, although constitutionally they voted to reappropriate the funding for the military every 2 years, but they were too much of a pussy to say, I don't want to be known as the war party. So we're just not going to vote to have war. We're not going to, because if they declared war, we would have had that thing over in 3 weeks. We wouldn't have had to tell anybody what we were doing. We would go in, blow their asses out, take out all the underground tunnels and all that shit. But no, they didn't want to do that.
Oh, the other thing is they could have actually went and took fucking North Vietnam as well, because without North Vietnam feeding them the people through, it would have ended. But the there was a political decision made to not win that. The other thing, I've watched quite a few veterans oral history stories about Vietnam. They were out on patrol, doing their patrol, and Vietnamese kids would meet them halfway through their thing to sell them bottles of Coke.
Yeah.
Right. See if the kids know where to go to sell you bottles of Coke, the fucking enemy know where to go to kill you.
Right. You ever hear of Whitney Webb?
No.
Okay, Whitney Webb is an author. Her father.
No, she's a great. If you've not watched any Whitney Webb stuff,
investigative journalist. Yeah.
Yeah, she lives out in, was it Peru or Chile or something nowadays?
I think so. Her father, I think, was Jack Webber. I forget his first name, but he was known as the greatest investigative journalist that ever lived. Okay. And she got his genes and she got his talents as well. She learned from. So what happened was she just wrote a book. And the book was, I read the first volume. The first volume was like 800 pages. The second volume, I think, is even bigger. But I'm not done reading the first volume. But it's the United States under blackmail, and it's yada 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 how the CIA created a Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, but in the book, when you read every chapter, you have to go, holy shit, and you got to sit back and you got to go, God damn, that's a lot of info. She gives you, it's like a fire hose of info this woman has, and she gives it to you, and it's all straight up. And basically what she's saying is that every country in the world from the very beginning are a bunch of scumbag governments that did everything they could to screw over other countries, screw over their own country, so long as they became powerful. And one of the things that I remember is when she said that when the United States CIA tried to go into, and it wasn't called the CIA, what was the OS? I forget what it was called prior to CIA, but when they tried to go into Asia, okay, the Asians did not accept money for spying, right? They didn't accept money. You know what they did accept? They accepted poppy. That was the currency at the time. Now you know why the CIA got involved in the poppy fields and started growing them and started selling them. It was because that was the currency they were using with the Asian countries to try to spy on China and Vietnam and Korea, all that. So crazy. But she exposes all this shit. For example, you ever hear of Lucky Luciano?
Yes.
He was a gangster in the United States.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember when he and his partner, his capitano, or whatever they call him, capitano, and they were deported back to Sicily. Yeah. But it was a phony deportation because they were working for the CIA and they were ratting people out left and right that were doing jobs in the United States and elsewhere, and they were going through ports inside Sicily. So
and Lansky as well, Maya Lansky as well.
Yeah. So what happened was she finally gets to the point where she points out that the way that they compromise political people and CEOs of very important corporations that the political people want to control and all that shit was they have these people that act like Jeffrey Epstein.
Yep.
And because they had several, and Epstein worked for several European countries, plus the United States, plus Israel. He chose the what do they call it? The honeypot type thing, where he had his island, and you would walk out on the island, and when you went inside the building, there was in the foyer, there was a giant. Everything was made of marble, and there's a giant marble table, and throughout the marble table were Polaroids, and the Polaroids were children. Okay. And you got to look over it all, and you picked one up and you handed it to a page person, and they would take it, prepare the room, prepare the kid. And then they come down and take you by the hand and take you up to the room. And you could do any damn thing you wanted. But they didn't realize that Epstein had the latest equipment to record everything. And then afterwards they would take him into a room and put a little movie on for him and say, we got you. Now, whatever we want, you're going to say it, or else we're going to release this.
Just out of interest, Rich, do you think we'll ever get the? Do you think that the Don will release the Epstein?
Well, did you hear Pam Bondi yesterday?
No, I didn't.
It's all over the news here. She said they asked her straight up, "Are we ever going to learn what's on the Epstein list? Who's on it?" And she smiled and she said, "It's actually sitting on my desk right now. I'm going over it, and I'll let you know more." So I think they will, but I think what she wants to do, because there are some bad people, okay, on that list, and people that I would love to see go to prison or hang themselves out of shame. But it's no quarter with these motherfuckers when you go after, pardon my French, when you go after children, right? And so, but these people, when you balance it all out, if you take this person out, it could harm the country. It could. There's some people that are that important it could harm the country. So I think Bondi has to weigh it out. And then you have the question of, okay, we have to release the whole list. Because then they're going to say, well, if you only did piecemeal, it's because Donald Trump was on that list. And although we know Trump never went on the Lolita Express.
Yeah.
And they love to show pictures of Trump and Melania with Ghislaine Maxwell, whatever her name is, and him. But they forget that, the minute he found out what Epstein was, he booted him out of Mar-a-Lago, never took his calls again.
If you were of that social standing, I think would be quite hard, and in that geographic location, I think would be hard for you not to have a photograph with Epstein, because he went to all the mixers, all the parties, and all he had to do was have somebody coming around behind him and go, "Oh, here, can I get a photograph?"
Yep.
It's
he
very
was a hedge fund guy, and but the fact was, I don't think he was making the money off the hedge funds. I think the government was funding him.
Oh, the hedge funds were never making the type of money that he made.
Right. And I think the government was manipulating that whatever hedge funds that he was investing in, whatever stocks, bonds, whatever portfolios he was running for people. I think the government put it up.
No, I'd say it goes further than that. I would say that his stocks and shares in those portfolios ended up making a loss, but the government just said, "How much money do you need?" and handed them that in cash. And
absolutely,
the rest of it was a front.
And yet they put Bernie Madoff in prison for the same thing. Right?
But here's the thing: they allowed Epstein's stuff to make their losses. So the people who invested in his portfolio were not out of pocket. The American government were out of pocket for covering for those losses, whereas Bernie Madoff, however you pronounce that, he bankrupted quite a few people, so he had to go to jail.
Right, he did. Yeah, he did. But I'm saying the scheme was kind of the same, except when the government's involved, it's okay.
Yeah. Oh, fuck! It's the same thing. The government can basically do whatever the fuck they want until they get somebody in to audit them, which is just about which is just happening now, and it's absolutely fucking glorious.
We are beside ourselves. Trump is doing the fire hose effect, right? Yeah. Where he's hitting them hard every single day with new stuff, and they don't know how to be angry. Do we get angry at the 3 things he did yesterday or the 5 things he did today? Holy crap, we don't have enough people to be angry. And this is going to happen for about 18 months because there's so much shit that the left destroyed in our country. I mean, fucking destroyed. And so he's going to try to fix it all. I just hope he has a food taster.
Yeah.
I do. I hope he has a food taster, man, because they're going after him and they're going after Elon.
Yeah.
And you think about it, all these politicians that are bitching and screaming, right? They're the ones that for years they told you that they were going to do the things that Trump is actually doing.
Yeah.
And think about it. He's making it look easy. He makes it look so easy, right? He sends Doge in there. Imagine this. 19-year-old kids with pimples on their face walk in with a laptop into the IRS, and the IRS freezes and freaks out. Hey, we're here from Doge. Ah! It's like, holy shit.
Well,
right?
It's the IRS. They're used to auditing other people, not fucking being audited.
Did you see? Did you see when Trump was giving his address, and he was there? He was saying, as a first world country, we've got to be proud of the health of our nation. We got these guys here, in the 90s and then. This is great, but we've got guys here, 129 years old, folks. 129 years old. We've got 3 million of them. We've got people 156 years old.
There were over 1,000 people that were 220 or older. I mean, think about that. Now, what I want them to find out, Sensum, what I want them to find out is how many of those were still sending out checks and they were being cashed.
Exactly.
That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know.
That's those Stephen Crowder addresses, isn't it? You know.
Oh, yeah. The other question is there. I'm not quite sure how it works in America, but do you have to be on the Social Security list to be on the electoral roll?
Yeah, you have to be on it.
Yeah.
So when you're a baby now, you have to get a Social Security number.
Yeah, right. But
that's for track.
Right. So they can't take them off Social Security and keep them on the electoral roll. That's what he's fucking found.
Right. Well, go ahead.
He's found a way to find the people that they've got on the electoral roll illegally.
You know what I did though? You know what I did is I don't know if you guys know this, but in another life, I'm a senior programmer. Okay, I've been doing it. I've been programming since 1994, right? And so I wrote when they said because I did a story on this, all right, and I showed the list and all that Elon put out, and the story went on to say that the people in the SSA, Social Security Administration, that they just don't know how to take these people off the list, and that now they think, well, there's so many of them, so the problem got so big, it's too big to fail, right? So there's so many of them, we don't know how to approach it, right? So I just wrote an update statement. And I said, look at this, it took me 30 seconds, and I sent it to Elon. Because there's a field that says deceased. I said, update the table, deceased equals 1, where user address greater than 200 years.
Gone.
Gone. Yeah, there you go. 30 seconds, you took care of it.
It's funny you should say that, because back in 1998, the National Audit Commission, which is effectively, Doge, or supposed to be an oversight group for the UK spending, which I don't even think it exists anymore because it got a little bit too ridiculous. But they did a thing called the 90, the big 90, which was the national insurance number, and they wanted to. It was a big fraud initiative, and what part of that was checking and auditing the national insurance number. And I think back then, we were around about 55 million. I mean, we've increased sort of 10 million plus in less than that time, because people are having like 18 babies. Oh no, they're not. It's just mass immigration, isn't it? Yeah. So they did a 90 check, and this was like, say, 98, 99, somewhere around that time. And the population was 55 million, but there was around about 61 million national insurance numbers in circulation that were being
of course. You got to wonder who's
and it'll be worse now. It'll be worse now.
You got to wonder who's getting that money. Right? Who's getting that money? But you know what kills me is it's like Trump said with USAID, USAID, right? It's like Trump said, for my next trick, I'm going to make the Democrats actually try to support waste, fraud, and abuse.
Yeah.
Ta-da! And so they started cutting USAID, and the Democrats lost their ever-loving minds. I did a video on the top 7 NGOs, right? One of them was a Republican Rhino NGO that got money, right? And like what the Republicans did, they did the same thing that their counterpart Democrat NGO did, because they were in the top 7 as well. But what they did was 60% of the money, they got like 11 million, 60% of the money went towards their salaries.
Yep.
Right. And then
that's standard.
Yeah. And 15% of it went towards fringe benefits. Right. Yeah. So they took care of themselves. And I think it was like down to like 4% went to whatever globalist bullshit agenda they had.
Have you heard of White Ribbon?
No.
White Ribbon, the domestic violence campaign.
No.
They go around schools in Britain, mainly Australia, and they get all these boys to sign a white ribbon pledge to end violence against women and girls. 75% of all their income, most of which comes from the government, goes directly on their wages.
Oh, wow.
This is whenever people talk about the money that the people on the left have, and everybody talks about George Soros, and I get that because George Soros does put a lot of money in. Yeah. But the vast majority of the money that the actual activists on the left get come directly from the government via things like that, where they set up the NGO, the government pays them, and they convert that into wages. Or you have or you have a event where you bring 4 speakers from one group, and those speakers all get £1,000 speakers fee. Yeah. So that's $4,000 to that group. And this money really easily goes from the government to the people. And I only found this out because of the activism I was doing with men's rights. And it got to a stage where I'd had a meeting with our First Minister, or the Prime Minister of Northern Ireland, and got Belfast City Council to host an event. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I had the Human Rights Commission and the head of the health department saying to me, here, Forty, you could do a pretty good job here. We have meetings, the policing partnership meeting every Tuesday, every fourth Tuesday. We'll have this meeting, we'll have that meeting. You could come along to those and give us your input, and we'll get you the funding sorted out. We'll probably get you up to about $45,000 a year. That would be to pay you to go to these meetings and your overheads, like, you know, printing stuff out and whatnot. But here's the kicker. All those funding packages get renewed on either 2-year or 4-year or 5-yearly. So you've got to reapply for them. Wow. So they'll ask you to jack in your full-time job, go do that with the funding. And as soon as you say anything that they don't like, they've got you by the funding.
Yeah, they'll pull it.
Yeah, they'll pull the funding, and if you've already sunk yourself into this has become my job, you can't have that. So you end up saying what they want.
Yeah. But in fairness, that's exactly the same model.
That
you get with medical research facilities. You know, this is your funding. We want you to say that this is going to be the most safe and effective thing ever.
Yep.
Or if you don't, we'll just pull your funding.
I'll tell you one from the States, that in the United States, they have, you can look these up, the Joyce Foundation, Joyce. They have the Tides Foundation. They have the Ford Foundation. They have the George Soros Open Societies Foundation. What's up, Linda?
Yep.
And they have those. And what they are is, if you are a billionaire libnut, and you want to donate a shitload of money to either abortion or, I don't know, Americans for Ferns or whatever the hell they're for, and you want to do it anonymously, you donate the money to these foundations, and they're worth in close to $1 trillion with the money that comes in from billionaire libnuts. And so they will put that money towards whatever fund whatever thing you want, whatever left wing. Yeah. That's why the left always like, you know, like the George Floyd riots broke out.
Oh, here.
10 minutes later, they had the cardboard signs professionally printed, right? You're like, how the fuck do they have that kind of money?
Rich, you know, are you signed up to move.org's email?
You know what? I have a dear friend who is a politician, and she signed up for it just to know thy enemy. Yeah. And so she forwards me their emails all the time. They're lunatics.
Yep. I get those.
She might be here, as a matter of fact. They're lunatics.
Really interesting thing, because you live in the Western world, any email that you have not opened within 90 days, your government are allowed to go in and read.
No, I've never heard of that. But you know about Echelon?
Yeah, but here's the thing. So some poor fucker from the government has to read all those move.org emails that I'm getting.
If it's true, yeah. But
no, it's 100% true.
Have you heard of Echelon?
Sort of.
It's in England. It's actually in England, and it was Bill Clinton that had it created. He did it in England because he didn't want it in the United States because it's against the law. And Echelon actually does record every email and every phone call in the United States, every one of them. And it's not like they're listening to your phone call, but they can use metadata to find out who it was. And they do listen to that shit. And the NSA uses it. I know friends that were in the NSA.
I know one of the original ones was they were trying to, they sort of said, well, we occasionally do to make sure that we don't pick up, because there was, I don't know if it was a trope or, like like an urban legend. Apparently, if you were to say, the words, I won't say them, but, rhymes with pill, but begins with K. Yeah. And the Mr. President sort of thing. Right. It would pick up on these buzzwords and say, oh, look, there's going to be an imminent attack on whatever. And that was the justification for shit like that.
Right.
Literally.
Right. Well, see, the Patriot Act, when Georgie Jr., when he put up the Patriot Act, it was in a moment of, we have these people who hate our fucking guts. We used to always laugh at them. Think about it. We used to like they were the comic relief in every movie, right? You had crazy Arab guys driving down the street and everything goes wrong with them, right? And
for such a large document, they got it written in a very short space of time.
Yeah.
Fucking, I was sitting on somebody's desk because one day there was nothing, and the next day it was a fully formed bill.
Yeah. Well, he created the Patriot Act, and it truly was only supposed to go against terrorists, foreign terrorists. It wasn't even domestic terrorists in the beginning. And it was Barack Hussein Milhouse Benito Obama who turned it around and started using it against American citizens, particularly Republicans or non-Democrats. He's the one that started that. And then Trump came along. And they're saying if Hillary got in, that she was a control freak, and that she wouldn't only control the corporation, she would control the American people as well. That what we went through in COVID would have become normal under a Hillary. And so we dodged a bullet there. But then Trump came along and he exposed a lot of it because they used the scam of using, like with the FISA courts, like they lied with the Steele dossier and all that shit. And he exposed a lot of that, which is why they went after him with 2 phony impeachments. It's why now they shot him literally and hit him with lawfare and all that, because he was exposing everything that they were doing, and they just didn't like it. And so the Democrats are the ones that actually turned on the American people. It wasn't the Republicans. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Republican, because there's a lot of Republicans I think are assholes in Congress. And I don't.
There's a lot of them are just pretending to be Republicans.
Yeah, they're rhinos. They're actually the Republican wing of the Democratic Party when you think the way they vote. Susan Collins, like Susan Collins up in Maine, she is the absolute best you're going to get out of Maine. You're not going to get anything better. Lisa Murkowski, who's a fucking traitor, she's in Alaska, and the reason she keeps getting elected, well, first of all, she got into politics because of her name. Her father was a big-time politician up there. And then she actually helped get the state law changed by promising federal funds and shit. She got the state election laws changed by bribing some of the legislators so that the way that they do it is the incumbent always wins. It's crazy the way they do their vote counting up there. And so there are rhinos that are just disgusting. I would say we have 535 members of Congress. We have 100 in the Senate and 435 in the House. I swear to God, I think there may be 35 who actually give a damn about the country and about the American people. There's only about 35. The rest of them are all on their own take. All of them. They're on the take. Every freaking one of them. They care about, I mean, think about it. They care about their fiefdoms, right? They have a big office. They got all these people. They kiss their ass. They call them, yes. It says the honorable in front of their nameplate, right? When they're sitting down in a hearing and stuff like that. And they don't want to give that shit up, right? And you could be like, look at all the Tea Party. Remember that movement? The Tea Party movement?
Yeah.
It is now known that movement was the first one that terrified the Democrats. they really put them on edge because they realized that the American people, for the first time in like a century, said, we've had enough. Get to the back of the bus. Fuck you. Get your own bus. I got my own bus. Get your own bus. That was their attitude. That was the Sarah Palin type attitude. And so when the Tea Party came in, they were terrified, which is why they attacked them so strongly. That's why they did it. And then you had a bunch of these Tea Party guys that finally got elected, and they just got corrupted. They got sucked in because of the money that's being made. And like in one of mine, I said, Elon said the other day, what I've been saying for years, they make $174,000 a year. They come in with a normal average bank account, and like 4 or 5 years later, they're making millions of dollars. How is that possible?
Pelosi.
Well,
Pelosi.
you know how it's possible. Well, Pelosi, that son of a bitch, what she did once is her husband bought a building in downtown San Francisco, right? It was a regular office building, all right? It wasn't like, it wasn't a bad building, it was a nice building, right? But there wasn't anything particular about it. So she used American tax dollars to push to get a train stop put outside that building.
Fuck.
And she spent hundreds of billions of dollars to get that done, and nobody stopped her because she was the Speaker of the House. And she was able to then sell that building. Her husband was able to sell that building for like a quadruple amount of what he paid for it, because of the potential of that train stop. And guess what? The train stop never happened, but they sold it anyway, based on the hype of what it would do for that building.
Yeah. It's a great building. It's right on the train. It's right on the train line. I can't see train. Don't worry, I'll put one there.
We have to go into the building to know what's in it.
But the thing is, you say that joking. I mean, it is 100% true. But there was a bloke who was in, the financial market, the stocks and shares side of it, working on algorithms to try and make the fastest decisions, the quickest decisions, the trends, and all that. In the end, this is the God's honest truth. His name escapes me, unfortunately. I remember fucking some banking fraud, Sam Bankman-Fried, but this bloke, and I was racking my brain trying to think of this chap's name. You can look it up, but he was saying but I've got access to all of these sort of elite level systems and algorithms and all this other crap. As a developer, you'll know all about that shit. And he said, but I found that if I just track whatever the Pelosi's are invested in, I'm making bank. Let me
tell you something. Here's another little secret that a lot of people don't know. Do you know who Larry Fink is?
No.
You know what BlackRock is?
BlackRock, yeah.
BlackRock. He's the CEO of BlackRock. And what we found out with all the Twitter dumps and all that shit, and with Trump getting in there, is Larry Fink was now, for those of you that don't know what BlackRock really is, BlackRock is that manager that has just a piece in just about, if you go in to the stocks and you look at any company, okay, there will be two of the main stockholders, either Vanguard or BlackRock. Usually it's BlackRock on top and Vanguard right below. Sometimes Vanguard, depending on what the industry is. And the reason why they got away with that ESG bullshit, right? Yeah. The reason they got it, which is what killed Bud Light. Yeah. Okay, because Bud Light did that whole Mulvaney thing, right? Dylan Mulvaney, and it just killed them. And that, because they just said, look, we got to do it, or else BlackRock's telling us we're not going to be able to do any business with any banks. And because they owned all the banks, right? And you couldn't be a beer company and go, well, you know what, screw you, because I'm just going to, because they own the other banks. That's why they could say, well, we won't have you do our books anymore. I don't care. I've got every other beer company in the world. So what happened was, what Larry Fink was doing, son of a bitch, he was telling the members of Congress, okay, he was the Democrats. He was only telling the Democrats, and some of the Democrats let some of the rhinos know. They never let the conservatives know. Bastards. Anyway, what he was telling them was, for example, the CEO of McDonald's just bought a load of his own stock. What does that do? Well, that means that they're coming out, any company, that means they're coming out with something that he believes is going to skyrocket that stock. And so they would then throw all their money in it. And he would tell them, okay, sell now. He was telling them this. Now, how was he getting away with it? Because they exempted themselves from insider trading laws. So there were no insider trading laws against the members of Congress. And what Congress used to do, what they did, which they didn't have to do, but they created a committee. Okay. And it was on the SEC. It was oversight for the SEC. What they were doing was they were getting all the IPOs before they went out, because Congress had to have several hearings to make sure this company was living up to the standard of the stock market of America. And so here they were able to read, because they imagine a congressman. Well, he hires someone now with his budget, right? He hires someone, or she hires someone to come in and to say, okay, I want you to analyze this IPO. Is this company going to jump? And how much do you think they're, like an actuarialist, right? How much do you think they're going to jump in the first 2 months? Right. And so then if it's a winner, they throw all their money at it because they had it before we did. Right. Well,
yeah,
I forget who it was. I think it was Johnson, the one that's there now. He said, no more of that shit. You're not doing that anymore. Now you cannot buy stock if you're a member of Congress, period. And they're trying to sue him for it. Can you imagine getting to court? Well, Your Honor, we want to have that advantage.
Well,
why are we here?
A couple of years, well, no, probably sometime in 2021, so a while ago now, or at least 2022. Me and another chap who used to do streams with a fellow called Scottish Tam, we did a deep dive on what we called the 4 horsemen of the Great Reset. Okay. And it was Larry Fink, Bill Gates, Klaus Schwab, and George Soros. And that was the only video. And I got it was the first time I'd ever had contact off YouTube. Mm-hmm. And they just said, we've deleted that video. And I was like, you what? You've done what? I'm sorry. Yeah. If you want to contest this, please send your retinal scan, your DNA, your image, and all that.
Give us some blood, a stool sample.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Inside leg measurement. You know, it's like I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to be doing any of that shit. I mean, they all know who we are anyway, so fucking.
But talking of dissident behaviour and whatnot, a late addition to the stream, Mr. Al Mac. What about you, Sean?
Hello, guys. I'll tell you what, I was in 2 minds. I was really enjoying the show, and I was in 2 minds about coming on because I thought it's just going to ruin the flow. I mean, congratulations on some great guests you've been getting lately. You know, last month, Ritch, by the way, I subbed your channel last time. No notifications, so I've just redid it. Last month, I think we had Trump. I think it was Neil Oliver. Neil Oliver, I don't know. And Sensum Communem, of course. But yeah, hi to everybody in the chat. But yeah, congratulations, mate. It's a fantastic array of top talent you've been getting on here.
Neil Oliver, don't forget Neil. He'll be good. Well, you didn't mention Neil.
No, I wasn't sure whether it's Neil Oliver or George Galloway or.
Oh, Ritch, by the way, since you were on for the end of the February show, at the end of March, if you want to come on for the last half hour, give me a shout and you get automatic in that. Because
I'm having fun. I'm having a blast, guys.
Yeah, definitely we'll look at some time in the future having you on your own, and we can just fucking talk about all sorts of stuff.
I know about 80% of the people in your chat.
Yeah, so
they come over.
Yeah, it's home from home.
Yeah, they're all awesome people too. I love you guys.
Yeah, I will say that the chat that has developed in here, really from the nucleus of the Scrubs, they are really a wonderful bunch of people, and
they are, man.
The show wouldn't be the same without them, and it does my heart.
Every Friday night at 6 o'clock Eastern. A lot of these guys, they're all there, and I love it because we have a blast. We just have a blast, man. I call it the free for all after I read a boatload of stories. I have a website. It's an aggregate news site. It's jabberhouse.com, and so I use that, the top left and the center. I use that to do the stories for the show kind of like HB does, but he does tabs. I just do that, and everybody can see it. Like if you go there on Friday in the morning, you'll see exactly what we're going to talk about that night. So that's all I do. But these guys come in and they just make everything hilarious.
Yeah. I think since Al's arrived in, we'll do a little musical interlude, because apart from that, I need to go to the toilet, and we'll have a rendition of the Anglo-Saxon. Al did all the music for this.
Yeah. I'll tell you, just a quick one, 42, because you usually play a little bit of music on the way out as well.
Yep.
Can I make a special request, please? Just on behalf of Ritch, because I won't know if he's heard it or not. Can we do Eat the Bugs for Ritch on the way out?
Oh, yes. 100%.
How long do you guys do your streams?
Generally 2 hours. But having said that, I'm really enjoying this. So if this spills over for a little bit, I'm not overly worried.
I got nowhere to go tonight.
Okay. This is the Anglo-Saxon, Al Mac, and also there's a bit of vocals from the wonderful Emma G at the end, and I'm going to get to the toilet where this is playing. Hopefully.
Be quick, it's only 2 minutes.
Yeah. Hello, you're listening to 42's letter to the Anglo-Saxons. When you spread this message, you are the resistance. The Anglo-Saxon. The Anglo-Saxon shook his head sharply, his hair dislodging droplets of sweat from the back of his neck, the produce of moving a carcass to the workbench. The sharpened blades and cleavers felt natural in his hand. The carcass divided to his will. The Anglo-Saxon's muscle memory was that of a warrior. His body was lost to the toil, but his mind wandered to memories that were not his own. An intruder startled the Anglo-Saxon. However, before him was not the meadows and glades of his ancestors, but a butcher's shop window. While politely serving the customer, the Anglo-Saxon mourned the loss of a kingdom he had never known, of the rituals and customs that were lost long before his grandparents were even born. Outside, the street was a bustle. He knew there were others like him, ones who carried the warrior's pride. Amongst them he would find the rightful place of an Anglo-Saxon. The Anglo-Saxon.
It was not preached to the crowd, it was not taught by the state. No man spoke it aloud when the Anglo-Saxons began to hate. It was not suddenly bred, it will not swiftly abate. Through the chill years ahead, when the time shall count from the date that the Anglo-Saxons began to hate. When time shall count from the date the Anglo-Saxons began to hate.
Game over.
There you go. That's the Anglo-Saxon, Al Mac's music, and a little bit of the wonderful Emma at the end, and obviously yours truly.
I enjoyed that.
And let's not forget to mention Angela Rayner on her knee. Because ever since we played that a couple of weeks ago on Rags' stream, and I was on there, we got into that a little bit. I know you were there with me. It was like, oh my god, you can't. You try not to, but you can't help yourself.
Oh God,
sort
no!
of trying to look up her skirt, but you really don't want to look up her skirt. I mean, shocking. So yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah. Well, in my defense, I don't know if there's a better image for that part that doesn't have her skirt. So, but
firecrack.
Yeah.
She wears some whack clothing as well, didn't she? She was out with King Sausage Fingers and Starmer the other day. Getting a ginger growler, there you go, Rex. Yeah. And did see big clodhopper she had on her feet, man, and some shocking coat. I mean, I don't know if he's going to get us in trouble with the police for, taking the piss out of what she wears, but
I think that
she gives council estates a bad name.
Yeah. She's quality lass, grandmother in her early 30s. Show.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's how they do it. That's how they do it proper up north in the on the estates. Hey, listen, I was from a council estate, so I know what it's like.
Here, Rich, by the way, Rich, this is our deputy prime minister. We're talking about Claire Rayner. Yeah, she's fucking she's a dog.
It's like you guys have the same thoughts that we do. Slightly different, from the nuances of where we are.
There's the thought process is the same, but there's slight difference in the nuances of the languages.
Right.
But having said that, the only thing between the likes of yourself and the Anglo-Saxons in that video is generations. So it would be surprising if we didn't have the same thought processes. Yeah. We're basically the same peoples.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's it. All
my family's all over. I have family in England, Ireland, and Scotland.
Rich, can I ask you a quick question there? Sure, what's the word on the I'm not straight. I know you're only where you are, but we're hearing a lot of negative stuff about what Doge and everything is doing, what Trump's doing. We're all loving it, but we're hearing even the lefties over here on social media having a freak out about it. What would you say with the people that you speak to or people around where you live? Are they sort of really in favours? Are they enjoying the whole Doge thing?
We say about Doge and about Musk, we say this is why we voted for Trump. This is it. He calls it draining the swamp because what he finally learned, in his first term, Trump was never a politician, and he made the mistake of listening to his son-in-law, Ivanka's husband. Right, Jared Kushner, who knew he was a Democrat, and he knew people, and he said, "Oh, hire this guy; he's good for that. Oh, hire that guy." And Trump he trusted him, so he did it. And these people were fucking turncoats, and so he never got a chance to drain the swamp, which was one of his biggest, rallying cry.
In fairness, he drained it enough to let us see what was in there.
Well, he right now he's had 4 long years to think about how he's going to do this. He is actually draining the swamp now, and he's doing it economically. And here's another thing. The reason why the liberals over here, the libnuts, why they can't stay, TDS is a real syndrome, and he drives them crazy because no matter what they do, Trump is not an emotional guy, okay? He's a transactional man. And so he looks at everything as if it's a transaction. Did that work out? It didn't? All right, fuck it. We'll try another way. Did that work out? Good. Money well spent. That's how he looks at everything. And he's doing the same thing now with Doge. What Doge is doing, there's several things that you can do. It's called a clawback. And then the other one is called impoundment. What impoundment is, and Trump is using this, right? What impoundment is, and you're going to hear about this in the very near future. Impoundment is when Congress appropriates money to spend, they don't give a floor, they give a ceiling. So they say, we appropriated X amount of dollars to do this law that we gave you, and you can't go above this for spending. They don't do a floor. So in other words, a president will be given money to do something, and he has to spend it on what that law was, but he doesn't have to spend a dime of it if he doesn't want to. Now, a president could also say, you know what? We thought, and when's the last time a president did that, right? But we thought that we needed $30 billion to do this infrastructure bill, but we only really need $20 billion. So we're going to do impoundment on the last $10 billion. And that means we're not giving it back to Congress. We're going to impound it and hold it because in the near future, we may need to use it again. But clawback is something different. That's saying, we're taking all this freaking money back and we're going to give it back to the Treasury. That's what they're doing. Now, this is why that judge, pardon my French, cocksucking judge, just told Trump that, I'm sorry that I curse a lot, but
no, you're all right.
Only on live streams, not really in my, but anyway, so this judge came out and said that the Treasury Secretary under Trump, the Secretary of the Treasury, that he was not allowed to have access to Treasury Department records. Why? Because the libnuts know that when you take away their money, which is our money, right? When you take away the money, they have no power left. It's all about the money, which is why the first thing they went after was U.S. aid, because USAID was, oh my God, they were throwing money at all these supposed NGOs that were doing nothing more than funding the globalist agenda, which was against the American agenda, and we were funding it. Let me say this. I have a friend who I interview a lot. His name is Mark Davis, okay? And he's a data guy, all right? He owns Data Productions Incorporated down in Georgia. Now, Georgia was one of the states that was stolen in 2020. And the Trump legal team, who I knew the lawyer who was doing the legal team down there, and Mark was asked by Trump's legal team to analyze the voter data, because that's what he does. Mark has been deemed an expert witness by 5 different courts inside Georgia, and it's based on election laws and gerrymandering or redistricting. Okay, so they chose him, the Trump legal team, and it turns out that he found at least 6 different ways that they cheated. Okay, and one of the ways he chose to go with, because it was the easiest way to prove it, that there was massive fraud. Okay, so because he did that, Stacey Abrams, who's a very large African-American woman who has between her teeth, and if she could eat corn on the cob through a picket fence. Let's put it that way. She's not a very handsome creature. Okay. And so because she ran for governor and lost twice against the Georgia governor, she got pissed that there were people True the Vote. Don't know if you ever heard of them, but True the Vote. And they were the ones that proved for Dinesh D'Souza's 2000 Mules movie. He used True the Vote's data. But so Stacey Abrams has a group called Fair Fight, and they sued True the Vote, and they brought Mark in, my friend. I've been friends with him, best friends with him for about 16 years now. And they brought him in as well. And they said about Mark, they said, you violated the Voting Rights Act. And he was like, how the hell did I do that? And the lawyers were like, well, because we have a voter, a Democrat, who said that you contacted him. And he's like, well, all right, let's go to court. They're full of shit. I never contacted anybody, right? So what happened was, long story short, too late, I know, but what happened was he went through 3 long years of lawfare. Okay, 3 years of lawfare. All right, and the whole time he's worried. He's like, I may have to sell my business now before a judge says, no, you can't do that, because they may take it from you if you're found guilty on this lawsuit, right? And so what happens is, when you get a lawsuit like that, you have to put just tons of dollars out, buku bucks out for lawyers, right? But Mark was lucky, because the lawyer that did True the Vote said, I'll cover you as well, no charge. So he lucked out there, right? That lawyer, by the way, is the one who won Citizens United. He's the guy to set liberals' hair on fire. All right. He won the case Citizens United, which was a big fucking case, right? And for freedom anyway. So, and all it did really was it allowed corporations to start doing exactly what the unions did, which was they can donate money to political candidates. All right. So, and that was a big case. All right. So this guy was a good lawyer. So 3 years ago, one of the judges involved was Stacey Abrams' sister. And they said, we want you to recuse yourself. Why? Do you think I can't? No, we don't think you can, because it's your sister's group. So then he got another judge, and it was a Democrat judge. Okay. And the judge allowed the case to go through, even though they had no evidence. All right. So it goes 3 years. And just about 6 months ago, the judge threw it out. He said, you have nothing to the Fair Fight people. We just found out 3 days ago, thank you, Elon Musk, that Stacey Abrams groups were funded by USAID, which means that every member of True the Vote and my friend Mark paid for his own fucking lawfare for 3 years, because it's our tax dollars that were being thrown out to these groups. So USAID gave money to Fair Fight that threw, and you know why they did it? Because they wanted to make the process the punishment. They knew they weren't going to win, but they did it anyway. And this goes back to these judges that rule against Trump, because they know there is absolutely there's no consequences for a judge. It's like when Trump was first in office and he did the travel ban. They all called it a Muslim ban, but the word Muslim wasn't in there. And the 6 countries that he blocked, a lot of people don't know this, they were countries that the previous administration, the Biden administration or the Obama administration, told the Trump administration, these are the 6 countries that we believe would have more people from ISIS that would infiltrate the refugees coming from the Middle East into your country. So Trump said, fine, then we're going to do a ban of these 6 countries until our FBI can tell us what the hell's going on. So a judge comes out and immediately puts a ban on it, saying it's racist, it's a Muslim ban, right? The word Muslim doesn't appear in there. And it's also, I mean, there was a president who had a Muslim ban with the word Muslim in it, and that was Barack Obama. He put a Muslim ban against Iran, but this judge didn't say shit. So my point is, these judges, they know that nothing's going to happen to them because there's no consequences. If you're a federal district judge, you're there for life, okay? Something our founders fucked up on because they didn't realize that we would have progressives. So what happens is there's absolutely no consequences. The judge knows he's going to be overruled, right? But it takes 18 months for a president to get to the Supreme Court. And so that whole time, those whole year and a half of his term, he can't do anything, right? Now, this is what they're doing. So Pam Bondi, God bless her soul, she just came out and said, you know what? We're going to start looking at these judges. And Clarence Thomas came out like 2 years ago and said, judges have to stop doing this because you're screwing with, we have a thing called separation of powers, which means we have 3 branches of government, right? We have the executive branch, we have the judicial branch, and we have the legislative branch, right? And they're equally powerful, but they're not allowed to tell each other what they must do. So we just had a judge who literally told Trump that he had to start releasing funds from U.S. aid. And Trump gave the double barrel. Said, no, you cannot tell us that because we are the executive branch. I am the leader of the executive branch, and I say no. We're freezing them. And so the judge, it just hit the news yesterday. I did a story on it, and it said, the judge said, I'm getting pretty angry here, but I'm not going to do anything. And I think the reason why she said I'm not going to do anything is because she knows if it goes to the Supreme Court might come down on her and say, why would you do this? This is a function of Article 2 in our Constitution, which is the presidential powers. This is a function of Article 2. It's not a function of the judiciary, which I believe is Article 3. It's like you can't do that, but he's doing it anyway because he wants to screw Trump over because I said earlier, the Democrats have lost everything. They have no power. So they're using their friends in the courts, the libnuts in the courts, to throw a monkey wrench so that Trump can't govern. And Trump right now is saying, no, we're not doing it. So the same libnuts are coming out. So, he thinks he's above the law. Right. Like Joe fucking Biden, who gave the middle finger to our Supreme Court when they told him you cannot cancel debt. Because what Joe Biden was doing is he was canceling
student loan debt, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Right, to buy votes. That's what he was doing. He was buying votes. It was during election year. He was buying votes. And the Supreme Court said, you don't have the power to do it. And Nancy effing Pelosi, she was still speaker when she came out over this, and she gave a speech to the press. She actually came out to the floor in the press, and she said, look, she goes, they're right. The president does not have the power to cancel debt. Only Congress can do that. She said they can put it on hold, which is what I said. That's called impoundment, right? She goes, they can put it on hold, but to cancel debt, no, only the Congress. And nobody came to us and asked us to do this. So Joe Biden was in the wrong, but he would go out and campaign before they put that giant Shepherds thing and yanked him off the freaking stage, right? Dementia Joe. Well, he would go out and say, well, the Supreme Court told me that I can't cancel debt. Well, that's not going to stop me because I'm going to continue to do it. And all the clapping seals, it's just a mess. So now they're saying, oh, well, Trump, you think you're above the law. No, he thinks that these judges are doing this shit because they get away with it. And so now I think what Pam Bondi's going to do is she's going to come up with a recommendation for our Congress to create laws that Trump will absolutely sign. It says that there could be reprimands besides impeachment and removal from office. There could be reprimands for judges that try to step over into another branch of governments. Like they chase over the separation of powers into another branch and try to tell them what they can do and can't do. A judge can tell a president, look, we think you're breaking the law here. But he can't say, we don't like your policy, so I'm going to tell you can't do it. And that's why Trump is just moving forward, and it's driving the left crazy.
I'll tell you, I do like this Pam Bondi. I really do.
Yeah. Well, you know what's happening? You ever hear of what? Do you know what an extinction burst is? You ever hear that term? An extinction burst is this, guys. It's very simple. When you want to get a can of soda out of a machine, right? What's the deal? Everybody knows the deal. I put the money in, I get to push a button, and it gives me a soda, right? That's the deal. What happens? We've all seen it. When somebody puts the money in, they push the button, they get no soda. What do? They start beating the shit out of the machine. They kick the machine, they shake it, they do all kinds of things. That's called an extinction burst because in your brain, you go, whoa, wait a minute. We had an agreement here. I did my part. Why didn't you do your part? Right? I mean, everybody understands that. And so for the Republicans, they're such pussies for the last 40, 50, 60 years that all a reporter or a Democrat, same thing, had to do was go, wow, you're a racist. No, don't call me a racist, right? Well, Trump comes along and they go, you're a racist. He goes, he laughs in their face and gives them the finger.
Yeah.
And they have no idea what to
do. And Steve Bannon throws a Roman.
Yeah, he throws a grenade in the room and runs away.
I've heard about it. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen Steve Bannon. I heard about it. I'll tell you what, I really do appreciate your take on this because I think that a lot of people here, we really keep a quite close eye on what's going on in the States because we know it's going to, at some point, it's going to affect what goes on around the world. Yes. But when we started hearing about things like Democrat judges and starting hearing terms like that, you think, why is a fucking judge a Democrat but if that's weird, you know, so not like that over here. Then you sort of realise that all the judges over here are all lefty and woke.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not all of them.
Well,
a lot of judges are right. The ones that you hear about that do crazy things in the news are the lefty judges.
Yeah, but there's too much of it. Too much of it.
Oh, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, they're doing crazy shit, man. They're just
America has the benefit of it still has some conservative universities, and there's still conservative leaning law schools. I get they're a lot more reduced than the left leaning ones, but see in the UK we have fucking zero. It is all of academia is all so far to the left.
Most of ours is too. We the ones you're talking about in the United States, they're not state colleges, they're not Ivy League colleges, they're private colleges like Hillsdale College. Look them up and get there is a monthly thing that you can get, and it escapes me what it's called right now, but you can sign up for it. And they have a conservative it's free. They have a conservative person that gives a speech, and then they have him write the article about the speech, and it's fantastic. It's Hillsdale.
There's a guy. There's a guy, 3 parts to his name. I can't remember what it is. Older gentleman.
Here it is. It's called Imprimis.
Does a lot of talks with Hillsdale. Hillsdale College. Very good.
Yeah, Hillsdale.
Is Hillsdale where Brett Weinstein went to and his wife Heather when they got?
No, that was a very woke college.
This one was populist conservatism and constitutional order. But this comes every single month, and I donate money to them once a year because it costs money to do this. But what they also do, guys, is on their website, absolutely for free, they'll give constitutional classes. So if you ever want to understand our Constitution is not hard to understand. It's just that the libnuts never read it. So they don't. They've never read it, and they don't understand it. I mean, we like, for example, here, I'll just give you this one that they all do, but the Republicans don't. For example, you hear everybody signs executive orders, right? Well, Barack Obama pretty much governed with executive orders, and so did Joe Biden. Now, Trump didn't. In fact, one time Trump signed an executive order, and it was to shut the libnuts up about kids in cages, right? Remember when they're saying they're putting illegal kids in cages? It was all horse shit, right? I mean, they were going in cages, but they were like, 9 feet tall. They were cells. Right?
Wasn't that the photo op with that?
AOC. AOC, and there was nobody on the other side of the
cram at the car park.
But here's the thing with that. Here's the thing with that, and this is a good example because it was during the Clinton administration that people complained and said, a judge ruled that no, you cannot keep children with their adult parents in the cells. You must separate them. And why did you do that? Because in these adult cells, there would be other adults that their parents don't know who could turn violent at any time, and the kids could get hurt. Make sense? So they said you got to give them different facilities, right? Now, the problem is that the coyotes, that's what we call people. Now they're cartel members, but the coyotes are the people that you pay $3,000 and they'll get you over the border. Okay. They'll take you from whatever hellhole, whatever shithole you live in South America, and they'll bring you up to the border. Okay. And what happened is they started separating the kids. And so the Democrats immediately used it as a weapon. Okay. When Trump got in. So Trump said, okay, I'm going to sign this executive order saying we're not going to do that anymore. But what that meant was they had to build these humongous facilities so that because you could have a single cell for the parents and the kid, right? Now, did you hear that the Biden administration lost 300,000 migrant kids?
Yeah. Well,
I
heard
lost in quotes, isn't it? Lost in quotes.
Yeah. Do you know how? Yeah, lost. They lost. They don't know where the hell they are. Do you know how they did that?
Well, did you check the pizza menu?
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I got a story on that too, but that's for another time. But here, what happened with these kids was there are people in South America that their economic situation is so fucked up that they'll send their 7-year-old daughter to go on her own with maybe like other kids in the neighborhood that they know, and they travel 2,000-3,000 miles up to the United States and they get in. Okay. A lot of them, they say, yeah, my parents gave me birth control because they know they're going to be raped along the way by the cartel members. That happens a lot. Okay. So what happens is when they go up there, you had organizations like CARA, C-A-R-A, can't remember what it stands for, don't care, but they're a bunch of libnut lawyers that do pro bono work. And one of the things they do is they go into Mexico when they come over the Guatemala border and they meet with these illegals and they teach them, they give classes, right? They teach them how to ask for asylum in the United States, okay?
Lawyers Without Borders. There's a group does that in Europe called Lawyers Without Borders, but it's the same shit.
Exactly. So what happens is these kids come up and they don't have anybody but themselves. And so the CARA people, there's like 15 of them, but I picked CARA because they're the worst. They told adult illegals, grab a kid, tell the kid that he's your kid, and America will take you in first. Because Americans, they say we're a heartless, but no, we give a shit about people, even though they're illegals coming over. There's a kid. What are you going to do? The kid's not, a little kid is not the one that's really breaking the law. Okay. So what they do is they say, okay, you're with me. I'm going to get you in. I'll take care. So what happens? They get separated because the law says separate. Right. And then when they find out that they have a deportation hearing scheduled, they'll go and they'll call the adult and they say, look, you can go out into the interior and here's your date. Go over to this building here and get your kid. My what? Oh, yeah, that's right. I got a kid. Yeah, I'll go over there. And they never do because it's not their kid. They use the kids right, to get over the border. So it's not their freaking kid. And so now all these kids are sitting there. So where do they wind up? They wind up either working on farms or they wind up in the sex trade. Now, how is that? Because you have some border patrol people and social workers that are making shit tons of money. The United States is the absolute #1 worst country in the world for child sex trafficking. Now, why is that? Because we're just a demonic people? No, because we have more money than most other countries. And so the money's there. The billionaire sicko perverts are there. But anyway, Trump, when he signed that executive order, he's the only president in my lifetime who ever did this. He turned around, he looked straight at the camera. He goes, look, I'm going to sign this executive order. I have no idea how long it'll last because the Congress has to make a law. I can't just sign an executive order without a power behind it. Now, this is a man who was never a politician, but he knew that, right? So he said, here, I'm signing it. I'm doing it just to shut the Democrats up. There you go. If it's brought up to court, we're going to lose. We'll have to lose the executive order. And you guys in Congress, you're going to have to create a law, and I will sign that law. That was a huge lesson that our news, our mainstream news, right? Legacy media, the shitheads, they bypassed that. They tried to get that off the front page because if people found that out, they would find things out like our DACA program. It's 100% unconstitutional because the way it works is, okay, and this sounds simple. I'm not talking down to you. It's just most people don't understand this, okay, if you don't live through it. What happens in America is the Congress will create a law that gives a power to the president. For example, they'll say, okay, we're giving you this money to build the wall. Okay, we're not going to tell you how to build the wall. You come up with the best way to use this money to build the wall. The president goes, okay. He goes to his team. They fill out a plan. He goes, okay, here's what I'm doing. I'm writing an executive order that's saying, here's how I'm using the money Congress gave me to fulfill the bill that they passed. So the executive order is to execute, executive. It's to execute the order that the Congress gave me constitutional authority to do. Right. Joe Biden and Barack Hussein, Milhouse Benito Obama, what they did was, like Obama said, well, I went to Congress and I asked them to do a bill so that we could bring the youngsters and let them stay here. Well, they said, fuck you, Barack. So I just wrote an executive order to do it. So he created DACA with no power behind the executive order. How do you do that, right? None of these cocksucking judges that go after Trump went after Barack Obama. So what happens is, ever since George Washington, every president has the authority to rescind any executive order the prior president did, unless his name is Donald Trump. Because when Donald Trump rescinded the DACA executive order from Obama, federal judge came in and said, you can't do that. And he's like, wait a minute, it's an executive order. And the judge came back and told his legal team and said, no, because there are too many consequences of that, because there are so many of these now adults. They're now in their 30s. They're not children anymore, but they still refer to them as children. So these DACA recipients, the dreamers, right? Well, you know what would happen to them? Where are they going to go back to? They never had an original country. Well, it ain't here. So this is what the Democrats do in our country. All that they break the law constantly, but then they look at Trump and go, no one's above the law. Yeah, well, Trump's not below the law either. Right? This is the kind of shit they do, and this is how they get away with murder. So Trump right now is pretty much taking the power away from the deep state. He's defunding everything. It's all these NGOs that are getting this money, and you have people that work as bureaucrats that are working in these NGOs and getting paid by them as well. So he's taking all the money away to try to take the power away from the deep state.
Rich, do you think he'll be able to do it?
He's already doing it. They've already fired. How many people they fired already? On day two, honest to goodness, on day two, Musk came out and said, look, our people, this is on day 2 of Doge. They said, our people have already discovered 2 programs that were pulling the money. The one is $850 billion. The other one is $1.2 trillion. They found $2 trillion on day 2. And they found billions and hundreds of billions ever since. And they're pulling that, they're clawing that money back. And you know what? Now we have Pam Bondi saying, we're going to start to investigate to see who is getting this money. This money was going out to NGOs, but we don't see any return on it. Like, what were you spending it on?
The other big thing he's doing is making them all return to the office, because what currently happens is people go to college, university, they do their gender studies courses, all that sort of stuff, and you think, what sort of, the meme always was, what you ask a gender studies major, do you want fries with that? But no, most of them actually go into all these stupidly funded programs, like the one that was spending like 10 million on investigating glitter and all that. So they take those gender studies people, put them into that program that's not there for any actual real reason, but they spend their time not doing that work on the glitter, but on their activist work for climate change, for immigration, or whatever it is. By making them actually turn up and do the job that they're supposed to do, or not be there if the job is total make work thing, which most of them are.
It's the same way everywhere, isn't it?
he's unraveling it everywhere via the money, and it's fucking beautiful. And
people ask me, they're like, how do these people exist that do this kind of stuff, this crazy with the money and all? I always give the best answer. I say, well, one day Satan was urged to fashion a way of life to help him conquer the world. Responding greedily, he named it liberalism.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. All these people do is crave after other people's money, and their main aim is to destroy Western society, and they don't care how
doing
they
a good job with Europe.
And
you know who you can thank? You can thank Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, because they were the ones that during that Arab Spring, which was actually an Arab Holocaust, right? Well, during the Arab Spring, they're the ones that said, you got Greece right there. You guys can just go through, and you know what? We'll get these Europeans to open their arms for you, right? And so now you guys are flooded. I mean, no offense, but we look and we go, wait a minute, London? Weren't you guys like the white people factory of the world? Like forever? And now it's like, whoa. And that was all our president and our Secretary of State that did that to Europe. That's what started the flood. A lot of people don't realize that, but it was during that Arab Spring where they got rid of, where they put the Mubarak and they put that other guy in, Morsi or whatever the hell his name was, right? And that was for Egypt. But then all the refugees started flooding up to Europe. And it was because of all the things that were happening in the Middle East at that time. And you had Barack Obama that was trying to end Sykes-Picot, which was the lines of the boundaries that were drawn by the Brits. When they had the mandate from the Ottoman Empire, they had that mandate over there, mandate for Palestine, right? And so he was trying to take it. Remember he said the 67 borders? Remember he said that? We want to go back to the 67 borders, And so they were like, you're out of your mind. Right. So he said, fine, then fuck it. Then we're going to have all these refugees and they're going to flood into Europe. We'll bring a lot of them over here into the United States and we're going to change culture. And they did. They did. This is what Vance was trying. See, Vance couldn't literally say that. OK, but if you think about it, that's what he was saying. He was saying, look, we are losing the shared values that the United States has with our European friends and allies. And he's right. And it's because they're trying to do a culture change.
I think Vance's speech at Munich was fantastic.
Thank you. It was.
And it was so funny just listening to the applause of.
Yeah, I know.
The silence, the silence.
Well, I always said, JD Vance got Europe to cry.
People.
He got them to cry. That guy cried.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
We're like, he cried. Way to go, JD. Because we were like upset because we wanted JD to be in there and do his thing too. Yeah. But it seems like Musk took over. But JD, from what I heard, he goes, nah, that's your thing, man. You do it.
He's deeply impressive, that guy.
Yeah, he is. He really is. And did you ever read his book, Hillbilly Elegy? I read it.
No, I heard of it.
And it's about the problems in the Appalachian Mountains here. And it's mostly white people, and it's mostly they're poor, but they love to live on their own, right? That's why they were mountain people. They didn't want to be in the city and all that. But the drugs, everybody's a drug addict. Everybody. It's a serious problem there. And it keeps them poor. It keeps them hungry.
Those Appalachians are Ulster Scots. Right, they're my people. The reason why they're all called Billy is because they were Ulster Protestants.
Yes,
they moved out and went down there until they got water that was right for making moonshine.
He explains. Right? He explains all of the history of the Appalachians, the people.
I can tell you something about those people because they're basically the same people I live with. Yeah. See if you do not provide them with work, you're going to have massive problems with recreational alcohol and drugs.
He says that.
I swear to God, he says it in the. What they need is hard physical work. That means that they have to have a clean life Monday to Friday, and if they don't have that, you're going to get a fucked up society.
And you think about it.
Basically, it's Glasgow, isn't it?
I'm sorry, Al.
Yep.
I'll say so, but basically, it's like Glasgow.
Yep, Glasgow.
About how it's with the same sort of Class A problems and the drink.
But
fast and the heroin, you know, it's same deal.
That all arrived at the same time that the shipyard closed. See, whenever those men were spending 10, 12 hours a day hammering in fucking hot rivets, they were not doing that. But this is what's happened. They've removed the physical work. They've removed that whole working class ethos, and all they're left with, because what these people did, how these people live. Well, we're going to work really hard. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday, we're going to stop half day. We're going to have a fucking party, and we're going to go back on Monday and do that all again. That's the two things that they've got in their life: hard work and hard party. Yeah. You remove the hard work, you're left with hard party.
That's it. And they'll find any way they can, including when it goes into criminal activities, to support it. It happens everywhere. JD with his family, he broke it because he looked back at one point and he said, I can't do this anymore. I got to do something. So he went into the Marine Corps. He did his time in the Marine Corps, and he came out and he graduated from Yale Law School. And he did not like Trump at first. You guys know that, right? He trashed Trump. He was a never Trumper in the early days of when he was running.
He called him a Nazi or something.
Right. Yeah. He said a lot of nasty things. Like, and then all of a sudden, when he gets elected as a senator, it was when Trump was president, he started supporting Trump, and the press was like, "Wait a minute, we thought you were one of us. I mean, we thought you didn't like the president, right?" And he said, and he literally said on Deface the Nation, I call it Deface the Nation. He literally said on Deface the Nation, he said, well, you know what that was from? He said, I had listened to you guys in the media, and I thought Trump was really a horrible person. He goes, but then I watched him govern. And he goes, and he's probably the best president in my lifetime. And they didn't have a word to say. They didn't know what to say because he nailed them really bad. He said, well, it was you guys that told me that, but then I started studying him and watched how he governed, and guess what? He's awesome. Now he's VP. You gotta love it, man. So he went from like dregs of society, his family, because in that book, you should really read the book if you can get a copy of it. I think
I will.
Yeah, I got it on Kindle. It is such a fantastic book, and he's a very good writer. I know he wrote it, and I don't know if the editors like made changes to a lot of stuff, but I'll tell you what, it's a really good book, and you walk away from it going, America. I mean, really, you do, because you're like, wow, here you can become anything you want, even when the bastards are trying to keep you down. Because he made a decision. He said, I'm going to get out of this, and then I'm going to be able to make enough money to help these people. Right. And now he's vice president. He could actually help them.
That is excellent. Also, a nice uplifting thing. I think we'll wrap this up now because we're 2.5 hours, and
it was fun.
1 o'clock in the morning for me.
I like to bloviate, as you guys have just attested.
Oh,
and
I've really enjoyed it, and you're going to be hearing from me because you are going to be asked back on.
Cool. I appreciate that.
Fantastic.
Anytime, man. Anytime. I'd be pleased.
Yep.
I should bring you on mine. I should bring you guys on mine one night and hang out. Guys, when you're in when you're in my chat,
yep.
I usually we put a link out. It's just that we usually put a link out.
I've dropped on.
Yeah, you were drunk as shit though, but you were funny as hell, man. We love you. You were funny as hell, and we love you, man. You were shit faced drunk. You were saying some of the funniest stuff. But what we usually do is we put a link down and say, we put the invite link in. Say anybody wants to can come in. That's what we do. But lately we haven't, because with Trump, man, it's been a fire hose of news stories, and we're just reading through them.
You're overloaded with content.
Yeah,
that's actually a really good thing.
Yeah.
And it does my heart proud to see that we're actually getting victories, and we're winning stuff back. And we are serious. We are what comes out of after you have won every fight, every conquest for thousands of years. And I don't see us beginning to start losing anytime soon. Right. Although it would help if we could get all of us to realize that we're in a fight and how to fight it. But
yeah,
other than that, Right, sort of to wrap up, Sensum, I'll go round sort of in the order on the screens. Sensum, any last thoughts?
Absolutely fantastic having Ritch on again, and then I'll join in at the end as always, the icing on the cake. So thanks again. Like I say, if I'm around and about, I'll always drop onto your streams anytime I can because they're always informative, and there's literally no bullshit. My biggest problem with your channel is you're massively undersubscribed. But once again, it must be the shadow banning and shit like that that's going on.
I don't know what's up with us. Why we're not getting more people? I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I said, we've got no notifications, even though I was subbed, and I just double checked that I was subbed.
Yeah.
So I changed it to all instead of personalised because that sometimes makes a difference. But yes, they like to mess about, don't they?
Yeah.
Right. Ritch, last thoughts for the evening?
I had a blast, guys. I love every one of you people. I do, because I see a lot of you guys that come in mine every single week. You guys are smart. You guys are funny. And you guys are interesting as hell. I came in here one time, and I tell this on my streams. I go, yeah, I went over to 42s one time, and they were talking about the war, and I was like, and there was no chat going up and down. They were all silent because everybody was like mesmerized by what you guys were talking about. I think Paca was in here too.
Yeah.
And you guys were talking about the war, and see, we Americans, we know, what we were taught about the war, but you guys were like naming cities. You were naming like things that happened that they don't teach us in our history schools. And I was like floored. I was like, wow, this is cool stuff. Because normally, people are like, you hear history, you think like, screw that. I don't know. But it was interesting as hell. And that's why I started coming in whenever I see you up there on the board.
You need to get down past the facts and figures and into the lives of the people that live through it.
Yeah.
To get an actual feel for it.
It makes us think, because besides the Civil War, right, and our War of Independence from you guys, besides those two, right, we've never had a war on our soil. We've been very lucky because we have two beautiful oceans.
Yeah,
they keep us protected, right? So we've never had a war. And so when I was listening to you guys that night, I was like, damn, these guys know all these places because they're there. Because when we think of wars, we're like, that's over there. That's not our problem, But it's like when you hear you guys give the facts about what happened during the wars, it's like, man, these guys, like, they probably got like, I don't know, a grocery store down the street that used to be something in World War II, and all that, World War I and all. And it's like, wow, I just listened to it and I was completely fascinated with it. So good channel, man. Good streams.
Well, just want to sort of reciprocate in that respect. I spent a little time over at my auntie and uncle's who are sort of knocking on 80 now. And they don't have like what you would class as being cable TV or satellite TV or anything like that. But they have the free telly. And me and my uncle, on our free telly, we get the Smithsonian and PBS. And me and my uncle were riveted watching I think it was like the late 80s, early 90s documentary series on the Civil War. And I thought that was, because obviously it was probably pre-woke bullshit, even though the media is like pretty thing. But that was...
You talking about our Civil War?
Yeah, the American Civil War.
And more Americans were killed in that war, over 900,000.
Yeah.
Because we were all Americans.
And... yeah, and because like on one day there was like something like 20,000 men in a single day. It was just like, shit. That's like, you can't, unfathomable. When you think about it, and it was a very well crafted documentary series. If anybody hasn't seen it, it's repeated regularly, as I'm told, on the PBS channel. And one of the things that I take from that is there was a piece of music which I'd heard years ago, and it was the theme tune, and it was the Ashokan Farewell, and that is a beautiful piece of music. If you have chance, anybody in the chat, to listen to that piece of music by J. Unger, The Ashokan Farewell. It is probably one of the most beautiful pieces of music I've ever heard. Anyway,
man, a lot of good stuff that came out of that era. You ever heard? You heard Taps, right?
Yeah, Taps.
Well, yeah. Dun, dun, dun. You know what that was? It used to be called Diber Down, because there was a commander. His name was Diber, and his men loved him. And what happened was, when they would go out in the field during that war and they would fight, their commanders would say they need a rest. We're going to put somebody else in, and they had the trumpets who go, doo, doo, doo. And when they heard that, because the sounds were so loud they couldn't understand it, when they heard that tune being played, they knew, let's retreat. The other guys are going in. It's just a lot of interesting stuff like that. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it was quite eye opening for many different reasons, and once again, it was like I say, a lot. In fairness, one of the things that pissed me off about it was there were certain sections in there where you had this, shall we say, the ethnic community coming in and saying that this was a war against slavery, and it was absolutely no such thing. It was actually a war about taxation.
Yes,
the reality
You're absolutely
of it.
Right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, it was about taxation, because what happened was when the South was an agrarian area, so they would pull the cotton, they would sell it to the North. Well, they had to take it up by boat, and they went up through a series of canals going up to Boston, Philadelphia, whatever. And the problem was every single colony or state, if you will, had their own tax. So just for shits and giggles, if it was 10 cents a bushel, okay, I don't know what your equivalent would be, but that's 10% of $1. Okay, so if it was 10 cents, all right, by the time it got up, now it was much lower than that, but if it was by the time it got up to, say, Boston, it was probably 95 cents. And so they would manufacture the linens and the clothing and all that, and they would have to ship it down. And so by the time it got to the South, they could not afford to buy the material that came from what they gave them in the first place. So they said, the South was right on a lot of things, but they said, look, let's just do a tax where the point of sale is, which is what we have today. Let's just do a tax in the state that was the point of sale. And they said, no, go F yourself. And so it then got into, when a new state came along, were they going to be a slave state or not? But you're right. And the Emancipation Proclamation was a crock, because think about this. The Emancipation Proclamation was written by Abraham Lincoln, who I loved. But Abraham Lincoln said, well, if you don't free all your slaves, to the Confederates, if you don't free all your slaves, well, as of this date, I declare them free. Now, why was it a crock? That would be like Winston Churchill telling Adolf Hitler, well, if you don't free all of our political prisoners or our prisoners of war over there, I declare them free. It's like it's an enemy nation, dude. You have no power over them, right? Well, why did he do it? And it involves you guys. The reason why he wrote the Emancipation Proclamation was because the South was frustrated with that tax thing, which you just said, Sensum. And so they started doing deals again with France and England, who we had just 87 years ago, 87 years ago, we had just had a war for independence. And now, Lincoln says, whoa, wait a minute. We're splitting up the Union over that. And so Lincoln actually said, if I could keep the Union together by keeping slavery, I'll do it. If I can keep the Union together by getting rid of slavery, I'll do it. So you're absolutely right. It was not about slavery.
Sorry. Right. Oh,
you want to go?
No. Just some of the stuff that we touched on there. I'm going to do a very quick set. There was a parade in Belfast today. I'm going to do a very quick segment on this. Share screen. Facebook video. That's the one. Has that shared? Right. It has. Boom, boom, boom. Right, so you get the idea. That's Belfast city centre that you can see, and these large shops in the middle. It's a main shopping centre in Belfast. These people are members of the Orange Order and the Ulster Defence Regiment Lodge, who are going on down this street because until relatively recently, at the end of that street, there was gates to lock off Belfast city centre. And these two soldiers, part of their duties was to go and lock those for the night to stop people coming in and out.
Right.
And whenever they did that, it went bang. And Private Fred Sturt and Private James Cunningham, both who lived relatively close to where I live. They're in East Belfast. They turned into red mist and died that day, 24th of February. I just wanted to mark that, and that's pretty much where we are. You know, we no longer have gates around the city centre, but we still remember how we got to where we are. Which is when we were talking about the army stuff and whatnot. I thought I had it. I wasn't sure whether I was going to put a bit on that about that, but there you go.
Let me say one final thing, please.
Yep.
The reason why most Americans love you guys, for real, this is real. The reason why is because whenever the United States had to go to war for something moral, you guys were in.
Yep.
You guys were always, you were in. And we loved you for that. And we know about, I don't know whether it was a church, an abbey, I don't know what it was, but you guys had a book and it had the names of all the dead American soldiers in it. And there was a ritual every day that you guys would turn the page in remembrance of all those soldiers who died on your soil and in Europe. And
Yep.
you have no idea what that means to Americans who know that, because you're the only ones that ever did that. No one else did that. And that's why we look up to you guys. That's why we love you guys so much. That's true. So I'm getting sentimental here.
Yeah.
We got to end this thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, we got to end it. Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to put up an outro. I'll put the comments up on the screen. Rick, stay behind for a little bit anyway. Here we go. This is Eat the Bugs, featuring obviously Mr. Al Mack and myself. Here we go.
Cool.
Eat the Bugs.
Cool.
E2 speaking. Welcome to the Resistance.
You were all nothing, and you will be happy. And you will eat the bugs. Eat the bugs.
Oh shit, man. Eat the Bugs? You got me wrong. You got me so wrong. You ever seen a cave drawing of somebody with a spear hunting a mosquito? Well, me either. We eat meat and we have choices. You cook the hedgehog right? It tastes like chicken. Fucking chicken. I ain't eating your bugs. I ain't eating your bugs. I started off with nothing and I'm never going back. I'm not getting on your progressive track. With Agenda 2030, I refuse to engage. I can see where it is going and it's just another cage. I've got hedgehog, I've got rabbit, I've got wild hog. Fuck it, I can even move to Alaska and get me a nice caribou. Fuck it, I'm not eating your bugs. You're trying to take away what I fought so hard to get, so I'm going to say no to your cattle cars, right? Eat the bugs? Live in some communal pod with no fucking privacy? Own nothing and be happy? I've seen the people with nothing and they don't look happy. Eat the bugs? Live in some communal pod with no fucking privacy? Nothing to be happy. I'm not eating your bugs. Fuck it. Fuck it. I'm not eating your bugs. Fuck it. bugs. Fuck it. Fuck it. Oh shit, man, you got me wrong. You got me so fucking wrong. There are millions of us in the UK, billions worldwide, unvaccinated, striding out into our third winter of death with not a care in the world. Eating pig, eating cow, eating chicken, and we will not conform. Fuck it, I'm not eating your bugs. Hey, Klaus Schwab, this is 42, and I want the word with you. Motherfucker.
This is the fourth industrial revolution. We have a window of opportunity for the great reset. Technology is a critical weapon. History is truly at a turning point. We can shape a better world, and we will reglobalize to make it a better place. So will all know, and so will be happy, and so will eat the bugs.
You haven't got me talking. Why are the United Nations in charge of Stonehenge? Keeping me away from the stones? That's not world heritage, that's British heritage. You're getting to a point where the people just want to be left alone and going to get involved. Tell me again, why is the United Nations running Stonehenge? Fuck it. Stonehenge, new games, a fucking Pele mountain range, now owned by UNESCO, so you and I can never go. Fuck your 15-minute cities and your Internet of Things. We are going back to nature, see what that life brings. We had a good look at the planning we did, so we hook up with the Woodlander and take our shit off grid. Fuck it. We hook up with the Woodlander and take our shit off grid. Fuck it. We'll hook up with the Woodlander and take our shit off grid.
This is 42 speaking. Welcome to the Resistance.
Fuck it.
That was good, man. I enjoyed that.
Good. Right. Okay, everybody. Sensum and Sensum. Ritch has been Ritch. Subscribe, people. Subscribe. All's been Al Mac. I have been 42, and you lot in the chat have been fucking amazing. Thank you. Good night. God bless. And I'll see you all next week. I'm out of here. Goodbye.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.